everybody. Thanks for joining us here on the AccuWeather Network Live and also on YouTube Live. We're doing a simulcast here. We're going to stay with you commercial free on YouTube, but through the next 2 hours, we'll also be continuing with our live coverage on the AccuWeather Network as well. And you know what? Let me silence my computer here because I have this live stream up as well, so that could be an infinite loop. But we're going to be taking a look at the severe threat that continues to move through many areas. You can see really diverse list of places here under severe watches or tornado watches from Del Rio, Texas, all the way up into Bennington, Vermont. And again, in between, we have some big concerns. In fact, our greatest concern is actually associated with this tornado watch here in Iowa and into parts of Wisconsin. Let's get right over to radar here. I want to spend more time on radar than on the graphics. And you can see at first glance, you see small clusters of thunderstorms. But when we do zoom in, we have some big concerns here into parts of Iowa and Wisconsin. You see some different polygons. A couple of these peach-colored polygons here are where we have ongoing destructive severe thunderstorm warnings. And you can see that destructive reference there. This is a newer form of a severe warning when there is especially large hail or extremely strong straight-line winds. In this case, it's the hail size that we're concerned about. Just a quick look at what's going on up in La Crosse, Wisconsin, and then I'm going to hop on down into Iowa. We're going to check out what Tony Lawback is seeing. But I wanted to show you just this estimate of hail size here. And that white dot, that white area near Westby, one county southeast of La Crosse. I know in La Crosse there's nothing going on right now, but in Westby, Wisconsin, southeast of La Crosse, Wisconsin, 3-inch diameter hail possible. I suspect we're seeing at least 2.5-inch diameter. Sometimes this product runs a little hot, but not by a whole lot. And we have had some large hail already with some of these storms. So that's one of the storms that we're concerned about. There's also very large hail in the area barely northwest of Madison, Wisconsin. There, that's a big area of concern as well. In Madison itself, severe thunderstorm in progress, kind of filling in the gap between two of those storms there. So the home of the Badgers getting some nasty storms. But as we head down into Buchanan County of Iowa, a nasty supercell tornado-warned storm is on the map here. And we want to take a look at what's going on through Tony Lawback's camera lens. In fact, this is in Independence, Iowa here. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit more, and Tony's in the right spot, to no surprise, on the south side of a rotating supercell. So, Tony, what are you seeing? What's it look like where you are?
Well, Geoff, we are,
as you see, really just rolling through the heart of Independence right now. The tornadic potential is north of town. That is some good news. The bad news, though, I've got me in the town between it, so hard to gauge what's going on up in the notch area of this storm. This was the same storm we talked about an hour ago that moved through the Waterloo area, dropping hail at least up to 2 inches in diameter, from what I understand. And I did see some hail just to the west of Independence here, right about an inch in diameter. But obviously, the heavier hail, the bigger hail, was much further north than I ventured to go. So right now, we are getting onto the east side of Independence. Hopefully, we'll get a view once we clear the town. One thing I will note with this storm here, particularly in the last 15 minutes, the lightning frequency, the cloud-to-ground lightning frequency out ahead of the storm has picked up in earnest. That's usually a very good indication that this storm is strengthening. You'll probably see a couple of flashes on the dash cam as we continue to work our way off to the east here. But this likely a high precipitation supercell, so the visibility not all that great. The storm looked really disorganized about 20 or so minutes ago as it moved over Waterloo. It really was more of a hail threat. And then once it got kind of out here in the open territory, it really started to pick up. Rotation increased pretty dramatically, and that tornado warning went up about 10 minutes or so ago. But we were finally starting to get out of town, getting a view. What I'm going to be guessing is the notch. I'm not seeing any tornadic circulation. This is going to be about 9 o'clock to me, so about 90 degrees out the left side window, the driver's side window for me. So that's why you're getting a look at the cars in front of me as opposed to anything I'm seeing off in the distance. But right now, Geoff, I do not see anything tornadic. That does not mean there's not something buried in the rain. But at the moment, I would say, at least for the time being, Independence in the clear. This is likely going to stay north of Highway 20, where a lot of these towns are just north. So Winthrop coming up here, again, I think it's going to stay to the north of you, even with a right turn. But we're running parallel to it, and we'll keep tabs on it here, and we'll let you know if we see anything on the ground here as we get further out of town.
All right, Tony, we appreciate that report here. And I have the velocity couplets up here. I was looking at this from a few different perspectives, from the La Crosse radar site, from the Davenport radar site, and then I think the best bet for the rotation here may be from the Des Moines right now. It's kind of a toss-up measuring the distance here from the Des Moines radar site well, let's just zoom this out here. From Des Moines, from their radar site, we want to pick the closest view, and it's about 110 miles, so we're hitting that kind of high up. So if we switch over to the Davenport area, this one, switching over to the velocity scan, sometimes it highlights the radar location a little more clearly. That's 85 miles, so that's the closest bet, I think. I say that, just wanted to check another view from the northeast, from La Crosse's perspective, La Crosse, Wisconsin. And here we're going to be sliding a little farther north. This one, again, we just want to get the closest possible perspective. And it's kind of marginal, but it is still the best bet here, looking from Davenport, Iowa. And as we look at this here, you can see that almost cartoon-like supercell type shape. You can see the hook on the west side over the area near Independence. Again, the top part of the storm here, where there's a lot of hail right up in this dark reflectivity zone. But that area of rotation, when we look at this from the southeast to the northwest, the red is where we have movement away from the radar site. Think of tail lights, a vehicle moving away from you. And then the green is the inverse of that. I realize that this data is very messy looking. If you don't look at it frequently, but some of you who are really dialed into the weather, you follow the AccuWeather YouTube channel, and you're getting a good, again, a lot of experience here. You're going to look at radar on a routine basis, maybe on your phone, and you can see that area of rotation, as Tony said, it's barely northeast of Independence here. The couplet is pulling east and northeast of town, and you can see Winthrop generally in the line of fire, but it's not moving directly east. It's maybe just a small component, a small heading north of due east. So Winthrop, you are absolutely in the area where we at least need to be concerned, but especially the north side of town. So take shelter if you are in the area of central or eastern Buchanan County, Iowa. That's the strongest storm out there right now. It's our only tornado warning at the moment, and it is a storm that continues to exhibit some rotation. As we turn the reports on, this is the storm with the history that has cranked out a couple of tornado reports earlier. I'm going to zoom in earlier in the storm's life cycle. There were 2 reports of a tornado in emergency management back at 4:20 p.m. Eastern Time, 3:20 Central Time in Eldora in Hardin County, Iowa. Emergency management relayed reports of a brief tornado touchdown just south of Eldora, but it did damage a building there. And the storm has exhibited intermittent rotation as it has moved through the area, and is now continuing to move east and east, maybe almost east-northeast, but almost predominantly east now through the area of Independence in Iowa, Buchanan County. So that's not the only storm. It's the only tornado-warned storm right now. But again, we have some large hailers. I want to take a look at the hail size northwest of Madison, Wisconsin. Switching back over to the Milwaukee radar site, it gives us the high-res radar view. And I'm going to check out some of your questions here, by the way, too. I don't want to get too focused on one thing. So somebody's asking how Milwaukee is doing. Milwaukee at this point is doing fine, but you're going to be facing some severe weather later on. Pennsylvania, severe risk is limited there. Southwest Pennsylvania has had some severe storms. We'll look there as well. Appleton and Green Bay area, you're pretty far north. I'm going to look at the overall map here. I'm going to show you some perspective on that area in a moment. But briefly, a quick look at the storm hazards within this storm here, as this large hailer is moving through the area barely north of Madison. Man, we are fortunate that the white here on the map is not right over downtown Madison. That would be an estimate of up to 3-inch diameter hail. I would estimate 2 to 3 inches diameter hail there, barely northwest of Madison. As we zoom in, some neighborhoods, Middleton, up to Mendota, and this is not far from downtown Madison, 3.7 miles. So this is still kind of in that bubble where you're going to find some student housing off campus and so forth there for the Badgers. And as we watch these storms continue to move northeast, big concerns about large hail. And then the destructive tag has been added to the severe thunderstorm to the east now, also barely east of Madison, with similar hail barely northwest of Lake Mills. So one of you asked about the area of Green Bay. So here's how we're playing it up. You can see we have Green Bay north of the boundary and north of the greater severe weather risk area. It's mainly going to be to your south. There's a front draped between Madison and Green Bay. And a lot of these storms are anchored along this warm front. You're just too far north into the cooler, more stable air in Green Bay. Zooming in a little bit, here's a better shot at that. Chicago, we have you at a 3 out of 4. At AccuWeather, we call this a high risk here. 3 out of 4 on our AccuWeather 4-tiered severe threat. And we're concerned about tornadoes, but also very large hail and damaging winds. Some asked about Pennsylvania. And you can see the area of I-80 is some risk for severe weather there. But our greater concerns, frankly, are farther south. So we're going to be tracking this. But the tornado threat is kind of at its peak here in southern Wisconsin, eastern Iowa, and northern parts of Illinois through this evening and into the night. And here's a quick look at Chicago's high-res future radar. We are going to see an increasing trend here later this evening in Chicago, deep into the evening and the overnight, with repetitive thunderstorms. Now, in just a few seconds, I'm going to say briefly goodbye to our friends on the AccuWeather Network and the AccuWeather Now stream on Roku and other streaming services. You're going to briefly go through a commercial break, and then you'll come back to us. But if you're on YouTube, stay with us because we're going to continue commercial-free on the YouTube. And I think we're clear there on the AccuWeather Network. So as we just continue here, I'm going to check out a few more of your comments. Madison, Wisconsin, the big concern there is hail for you. Large hail on the west and east sides of Madison. You're surrounded by some nasty storms. You know, when it comes to populated places in the U.S. right now, Madison's one of the toughest places to be because of this hail threat. Not necessarily in downtown Madison, though you do have some hail very close by. I'm going to go back to the high res here. Here's the closer view. Now there's even a hook beginning to appear near Madison. This is a severe storm. Take shelter if you're in Madison. At least go into the interior part of your house away from windows. You may not necessarily need to go downstairs into a tornado shelter per se, but there is a little hook there. I want to bring up basically the velocity scan here. And I'm not seeing a whole lot of inbound movement, but there is large hail and there is some strong outbound wind up near Maple Bluff. So the storm structure here is screaming winds on the north side. And overall, we're dealing with, again, the risk of hail. Turning reports on, I'm going to go back. Here we have the report from Eldora, but I want to select one in the Madison area there. So Verona, just west of Madison, 1.5-inch diameter hail. That's ping pong ball size hail. Zooming in to town, Shorewood Hills neighborhood, small hail, dime size. Madison, half inch. But you head west into the belly of the beast here, and there is some larger hail, over an inch. Ping pong ball size hail for some. I suspect we're going to see, there's a 2-inch hail report now, 3 miles northeast of Middletown. So I know that we're throwing a lot of information at you here, but I'm looking at this magnitude. M means measured, 2.02-inch diameter hail at 5:59. So that's only, 13 minutes old there in Dane County. And we got a live look at Madison right now. Thanks, producer Barry Wade. He's driving the bus there with that Madison view. And the worst of this is barely north of Madison. But again, conditions are going to vary quite a bit from the west side of town to the north side of town. Large hail just 4 or 5 miles north of Madison right now. And I see Jesse Farrell here, the Weather Matrix. He's also responding to some of your questions. Some of you are wondering what time it may move into the Milwaukee area and also Cedar Falls. So as we zoom out, we are concerned about Milwaukee here in a short period of time, a couple of hours. The first cluster of storms will likely lift barely to your north. We're zoomed into the Milwaukee high-res radar. So again, there's nothing falling out of the sky here yet, aside from a few sprinkles near Elkhorn. So the storm that will affect Milwaukee has yet to really develop. I don't think even if this were to curve to the right, to the east and then southeast, I don't think the storms in Madison are going to catch you. They're going to be more likely to impact West Bend. But there's an area of untapped atmosphere here across northern sections of Illinois. And that's the concern here. You can see many of you weather enthusiasts know when there's a severe weather setup, if you're getting lots of sunshine and obviously some patches of cumulus clouds here and there, you're going to be in an environment where the atmosphere is able to warm up a bit more, and that fuels the instability. In fact, here before the network rejoins us here, I'm going to bring in some current temperatures here for the Midwest. And overall, Midwest current temps, again, we have a bit of a contrast here with the front draped across the region, but if you're in Milwaukee or south, you're on the warm side, 83 in Peoria, 89 in St. Louis, 80 in Chicago. So in just a few seconds, the AccuWeather Network is going to rejoin us here. Just bear with us here for a few seconds. And thanks for joining us here on the AccuWeather Network. And we've been continuing commercial-free on YouTube, our YouTube live simulcast, continuing for the next hour and 45 minutes as we track a variety of severe storms. Look at this map here. Lots of different watches, 2 tornado watches, 1 for the Southern Plains, 1 for the Midwest, 3 severe thunderstorm watches from Del Rio and San Angelo, Texas, to Indiana, western Ohio, west of Toledo, and then upstate New York, parts of the Endless Mountains of northern PA, northern Poconos, and into areas like Vermont and western sections of Massachusetts. So quick look at radar. We're going to take a look at, this is the satellite, but here's the radar view. We have 1 tornado warning right now, but he's always well positioned. We're going to go to Tony Lawback right now, who is tracking this storm in eastern Iowa. And as I zoom in here, Barry, where is he again? Near Independence, I know. Winthrop? All right, Tony, what's going on out there? What do you see?
All right, Jeff. Well, we are probably pretty close to a tornado on this storm. This would be just north of the town of Winthrop. Very, very strong RFD. That usually is kind of a telltale sign you've got tornadic rotation. It is blowing pretty hard. We've seen wind gusts probably 60, 70 miles an hour in town. You see kind of the parade of chasers in front of me. Again, hard to see. You know, this is a very heavily rain-wrapped circulation if there's one in there. But as you're kind of looking in the general direction, you see kind of the rain blowing across the windshield here pretty good. Again, we don't have anything confirmed on the ground at this point, but just down the road, there are some intense rain curtains that are wrapping around an area that could be rotating when you're looking at these rain curtains. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and slide up the road here a little bit. The rain curtains are moving from south to north. Meanwhile, the clouds kind of behind them are moving from the opposite direction. So the area of rotation, again, would probably be right on top of Winthrop right now. So if you're in town, if you're listening to this, get somewhere safe for the time being. Again, we don't have a confirmed tornado yet, but we're getting the telltale signs that the storm is definitely trying to wrap up a little tighter. So don't want to take any chances if you're in Winthrop right now. Again, this is right over the small town. This will be just north of Highway 20. Again, we were about, we're east of Waterloo. This is the same storm that produced the hail in town here. So we continue to move. I'll toss it back to you, Jeff. But again, we'll, keeping in your ear just in case this storm is likely very close to trying to produce a tornado here near the town of Winthrop, Iowa.
All right. Good advice there, Tony, and certainly everybody here in Buchanan County. If you're in Ottoville, Independence, and especially east into Winthrop, take shelter. I want to bring you the high-res data here again. This is the more accurate view of what's going on. Again, an area of rotation right over Winthrop. And we're going to go to Albany, New York here in a minute. I know somebody has a question about Albany. And again, this is just an urgent tornado risk there, imminent tornado risk in Winthrop. Strong rotation. I was bringing up some numbers there with that eyedropper tool a moment ago, and the gate-to-gate contrast is over 110 miles per hour. The contrast between the inbound wind and the outbound wind right over Winthrop. And again, look out here. And there's the brand new tornado warning just issued for Delaware County, Iowa, which is, sometimes there's a debate whether there's going to be a warning issued or not. This is an obvious one, given the rotation that is continuing to tighten up here as this storm moves east. So look out. And we can extrapolate some forward motion here for this storm. We also have a new tornado warning up into Dane County. I want to take us up there to the Madison area again, but that's in Wisconsin. But this is moving east at 35 miles per hour. So a quick look at this. If we were to extrapolate eastward, 30 miles per hour, 35 mile per hour eastward movement here, there's going to be moving into Manchester in about 21 minutes. So that would be around, if it's 5:18 right now, we're looking at around 5:29 Central Time for this arrival in Manchester. Take shelter now. That's the bottom line here. And let's go back up to Dane County. I want to go into Wisconsin, then we'll work our way farther east. New tornado warning just issued for Madison, Wisconsin. So this is a new tornado warning issued into Dane County. This warning here Again, it was just posted at 5:17 Central Time. And this storm does have a hook. You may recall when we were in the neighborhood here, I kind of noticed a little bit of a hook, and we looked at the rotation. Now, this is really tightened up here. A few radar scans can make a big difference, and that's a concern. So this has a nasty hook. We're very concerned about this supercell hail producer also becoming a tornado producer right over Madison, and perhaps a little more likely on the east side of town. But if you're in Madison, take shelter. Maple Bluff, Ethelwyn Park, Burke, Pierceville, Cottage Grove, this is coming your way. As we switch over to the velocity scan, we can show you that this storm is bringing us a strong outbound push. That's what we saw pretty well documented by the previous radar scans. I'm going to bring up the arrow here. Make this work a little easier for us here. And there is some inbound wind now on the south side of the hook. Now, the inbound wind, the magnitude of that with respect to the storm motion, not as impressive, 21 miles per hour there, but 45 mile per hour outbound. So it's about a 66 mile per hour couplet. The contrast, now you can see new numbers just because new data is coming in, so new pixels are being affected by this. But perhaps the greater argument for this tornado, possible tornado, is the structure of the storm on its own here, the supercellular shape. We have that wrapping of the rear flank downdraft onto the backside of the storm, and the overall structure of the storm has the thumbprint of a rotating storm here, large hail to the north. Now, before we get too far removed from that one question that one of you had, you were wondering if Albany, New York, if you were storm right now, which is severe in Albany, by the way, severe thunderstorm warning in Albany, New York, is your final one for the day. It probably will be, and I'll show you future radar here in just a moment. This is going to hopefully kind of scratch everybody's itch here in a way because it shows the southern plains. Let's go forward in time, and you can see the evolution here. Nasty storms repetitively moving through the southern part of Michigan. Flash flooding, a big concern there tonight. But you'll notice after this current storm exits Albany, you have a break. Now, there will be more coming, but it won't be until tomorrow. So you're going to get some rain around mid to late morning tomorrow in Albany. That'll be disruptive, and that'll be a concern. But the severe weather risk here for now is most significant in the Midwest. Tornado warning there in Madison, Wisconsin, and a tornado threat also in eastern Iowa. Stay with us here on the AccuWeather Network. Thanks for being with us here again, staying through commercial breaks on the YouTube feed. The storms are pretty nasty out there with those two clusters of severe warned and tornado warned cells now. Large hail has been an obvious concern. Look at all these hail reports here. I'm going to loop this so you can see how they just kind of add cumulatively here through the Madison area. An hour ago we had some, but now Madison, Wisconsin, also facing a tornado threat. So this is a developing scenario here where we have lots of people here affected by this. Again, hundreds of thousands. In fact, I can tell you the population under that warning here in just a moment. So the Madison, Wisconsin tornado warning has 284,000 people, 57 schools and 7 hospitals. That's the census data there. So there's a lot of people, 250,000 people under this tornado warning there in Madison. It's a bigger town than some may realize if they've never been there. And as we switch over to the high-res radar data, I'm going to go back to the Milwaukee radar site and bring up the very latest scan with the velocity here. And you can see, I guess a couple things come to mind when I see this. There is obviously a strong, obvious couplet, green inbound, red outbound. There is a little bit of a pinch point there where there is no separation between the two. You can see a couple of pixels here. So that's where the tornado would be most likely. But elsewhere, the other thing that comes to mind is when we go back to the reflectivity. That really deep purple up here just north of Burke, that's some very, very large hail. So we have a likely tornado or possible tornado on the south side. And I'm going to switch over to another product here. I'm going to go back to the velocity just to train my eye on this area under the F's there for Maple Bluff. I'm not going to zoom the map. I'm going to go over to something called correlation coefficient. And this shows that there's a lot of different signals here in the atmosphere. It's not all rain, but some large hail as well. And thanks for being with us here on the AccuWeather Network, rejoining out of a commercial break. But we were taking a look at this Madison, Wisconsin tornado warning, what was it, 284,000 people under this tornado warning. And also a good question here or a good comment from Jesse Farrell, the Weather Matrix, with he's our weather editor here at AccuWeather, and 29 severe thunderstorm warnings in effect right now. So several of these are destructive severe thunderstorm warnings. So typically severe thunderstorm warnings display in this particular system in yellow or orange, but you'll notice we've got a lot of big hailers out there, and some of these are colored peach. It's kind of like that tan peach color. That is because they are destructive severe thunderstorm warnings, and that is a newer type of severe thunderstorm warning the past few years, and they're issued if you have either straight line winds of 80 miles per hour plus or 70 plus in widespread fashion. That's not our issue as much as the hail. Hail, if you have large hail, 2 inches in diameter or larger, then you get into the ballpark of these destructive severe thunderstorm warnings. So a nasty storm there in Madison. It's the storm of the day, at least when it comes to the combined impact of population, large hail, and also the risk of a tornado here. I'm going to go back to the high-res radar data. When I say that, this fuzzy-looking, real clean radar, that's like the national puzzle of all these different radar sites assembled together, but then there's some data smoothing, so it doesn't look ridiculous, and it kind of cleans the map up. But what's more helpful when we're assessing tornado threats and large hail threats is when we kind of put our glasses on and just put one individual radar site in. So all the radar there you're looking at is only from the Milwaukee radar site. And what we're seeing here, when we look at this from that one perspective, is still a strong inbound versus outbound signature to the wind, but also some very large hail that is likely producing 3-inch diameter hail up in your Burke. And the AccuWeather Network just left us for a commercial break, but thanks for being with us here still on YouTube Live. And sirens going on the west side of Madison, as we're hearing from somebody in the chat. So at least that's the chatter, according to Jesse there. So again, a lot of different concerns here, and I'm going to switch back over to the YouTube chat. I'm reading through some of your questions, trying to multitask, obviously, but we do care about your questions. Some of you are asking about specific towns, and you might be saying, well, what about a very small town where I live? We encourage you to bring up the AccuWeather app, or if you're here on a computer, you can bring up another tab and bring up AccuWeather.com and type in your location. And if you type in your location, you're going to get some really good features. That MinuteCast feature is a great feature because it will time the arrival of the rain and the intensity of the rain down to the minute, as we can best assess things through some algorithms and also some human input. That plays a role in at least quality controlling that as well through the AccuWeather app and AccuWeather.com for your area. And again, I just want to, we want to be as useful to the broadest number of people possible. So sometimes I will answer questions specifically about, somebody asked about what about Cedar Rapids? Well, let's go to Cedar Rapids, Iowa. And I don't mean to play favorites, but that's a larger town, so that is going to be more useful information for a greater number of people. And in Cedar Rapids, we have a severe thunderstorm warning for you right now. I'm going to switch over to the high-res radar data. I think the best bet's going to be out of Davenport, Iowa, the Quad Cities. Here it is, severe thunderstorm. Now, this is a regular severe thunderstorm warning, so it's still a hazard. You want to stay away from the windows and so forth. When we bring up the storm hazards with this one, you're going to see smaller hail and maybe 1-inch diameter hail there near Newhall, and damaging straight line wind potential is a concern as well. But you're probably not going to see in Cedar Rapids, the way this storm is organized, you're not going to see the 2+ inch hail that some others are facing to the north. That tornado warning and the tornado threat there moving across the area from eastern Buchanan County into Delaware County. Another look at this here, still a nasty tight couplet here. This is what storm chaser Tony Lawback is on right now. And again, there's no separation between the inbound and the outbound here. So this is a very tight couplet. There's very sharp conflict here between the inbound and the outbound winds, and that is giving us, again, a strong signal of a possible tornado here. And when we look at the reflectivity, this looks a lot messier here. So the strongest argument for this being a tornado is the velocity scan, and the data showing us winds moving in opposing directions in the same finite area. Looks pretty messy when we look at the reflectivity, and I say that because in this case, we're getting a cell merger here. Look at this cell coming in from this as the southwestern vector. This is really going to interrupt, and I suspect I suspect, can't be sure, I suspect it's going to choke off this storm that was a pretty tenacious rotating storm. We're going to check in with one of our storm chasers in this area soon. Again, it's always good to get multiple opinions, but my take on this is this storm coming in from the southwest, it was a totally separate entity, and it's coming directly in like a semi-truck into the southern flank of this storm. And I don't think there's a way that this won't interfere with the circulation. So I know there's still a strong couplet. We still have to take this storm seriously. Given that couplet, we got to take shelter. But you can see that most recent radar frame, it's beginning to take a different character here. And that tight couplet, it's beginning to see a little more outbound movement right into the area where there had been some inbound wind. So again, I think the character of the storm, the tornado risk is still present in Manchester, still present in Delaware County, Iowa, but take shelter. But as we take a look at this here on the AccuWeather Network, rejoining our YouTube live feed, we are tracking a storm that has been rotating fairly strongly near Winthrop, but there is something pretty unique happening right now. This does happen somewhat frequently, but it's a game changer for a storm that had been rotating pretty fiercely. So we need to still take shelter here in eastern Buchanan County and into Delaware County of Iowa. Independence, you're beginning to step into the clear in Independence, but east of there into Manchester, there's still a couplet. There's still a rotating thunderstorm moving into your area. And I'm making this hand motion because the winds are moving in opposing directions. But when we go over to the reflectivity here, look at this. There's no doubt about it. A separate storm is just running right into the southern flank of this storm. And I don't know if there's a way that this is not going to totally interrupt the circulation. We may see a new zone of rotation form somewhere else along this storm. But let's go to Tony Lawback. Tony, what's your take on this? I mean, this is a cell merger if there ever was one.
Yeah, Geoff, and I agree with you wholeheartedly. You know, typically if you get kind of a small shower, that moves of producing basically a whole storm that's coming in with a Mike Tyson punch here. I'm going to try to get situated. I want to point you back at the storm. I'm not so sure, Geoff, that we didn't have a weak circulation on the ground at one point. Just to my south, basically right along Highway 20, there were exceptionally fast rotating rain bands, very visibly evident. Nothing on the ground. There wasn't any ground dust or ground circulation, so to speak. But the rain curtains in very tight areas were rotating pretty quickly. That's technically, by the definition of a tornado, a rotating column there would have sufficed for a tornado. But again, I did not see any ground circulation. I didn't see any debris being lofted. And again, this was basically right over Highway 20, so it was just to my south. So I'm getting pushed off here on a dirt road because I'm kind of want to sit through this merger a little bit, but I want to give you a walk and talk. Well, I'm not going to get out and walk. It's rainy and haily. But here, so what you're looking at right now is where that merger is taking place. Right over the wind turbines, you kind of see the faint outline of some clouds. That is that storm that is coming from the south. And that really, once that interaction started to take place, that is when we started to really see that rotation start to wane quite a bit. We had very good sustained winds that were coming across the road, leading me to believe I was kind of on the north side of the circulation, because as I would move with it, I would have the winds that were blowing in my face. And then as I got a little bit east, the winds would shift out from the south. So there was an area of broad rotation that was definitely occurring there, kind of over Highway 20, which again is about half a mile south of the road that I was on. You're seeing a little more definition in the cloud here. Again, this is a separate updraft core. The rotation that I suspect would have been the possible tornado I was watching a bit ago, I think is now north, based on kind of my visual cues, is north of Highway 20, north of the road that I'm on. So what you're pointing at right now, in addition to the fire truck that just went by, is that storm that's coming up from the south. These do have embedded circulations. The problem we're going to run into now with all these storms that are forming, Geoff, is lack of visibility. This isn't like the storm we had yesterday that we had very easy to see, easy to identify tornadoes. These are going to be buried in rain. They're going to be tough to see. And when you get these mergers, sometimes they happen quick and they're typically very brief, but they certainly can, in the wrong spots, be of impact. So again, this is going to be an issue for folks in Masonville, Manchester, areas right along 20, Earlville, Delaware. So you're gonna want to definitely, if you're along Highway 20 to the east of Independence, west of Dubuque, certainly be paying attention. This is a very complex storm situation, multiple embedded circulations within it, and again, I'm not going to go as far as to say there was an active tornado with this, Jeff, but I will go as far to say there were very rapidly rotating rain curtains on Highway 20. So it wouldn't surprise me if there was a weak tornado in progress there for a while, but nothing I will confirm at this point.
Yeah, Tony. Along with that, the Weather Service they're pumping out a confirmed tornado warning for this, and the reasoning is that law enforcement believes that they briefly saw a tornado touchdown right over the area of Masonville. So again, and there is some subjectivity sometimes, but in terms of the interpretation of what you see. But obviously the character of the storm is changing, but there is still a couplet, and perhaps right before the merger has become a little more established. And again, there is still the risk of a tornado, as you mentioned there, Tony. Law enforcement believes that they did see a ground circulation there in the area of Masonville. So we want to head over to storm chaser Aaron Jajak now in Ryan, Iowa. And Ryan is just a little south of this location on the same cell. So he's on the southern side of this now. Again, it's a confirmed tornado warning based on law enforcement's report of something that Tony Lawback is also very near to. Tony did see some circulation, obviously, but Mr. Jajak, how's it going from your perspective? Again, massive cell merger, which is certainly going to interrupt this rotation couplet, but it is still rotating right now, and law enforcement believes they saw anything. They did see a tornado. So what's your take on this?
Yeah, so I was listening to you guys talk. This is that cell. This is the wall cloud of that cell. It's just now become visible. And actually, I lost sight of it for a while because of that rain of that cell that's back to the southwest. You can see that rain-free base back to my southwest, but more cells even back to the south of it. But as I was tracking this cell, probably about a half an hour ago, I was in Independence, Iowa, and right as after I got tornado warned, the tornado sirens warnings went off on my phone. I was seeing the rotation right above me, just in front of me a little bit, and suddenly an entire half of a roof of a warehouse went flying off of the warehouse. Now I couldn't tell if it was tornadic winds or just some straight line RFD winds, but since it was right underneath that rotation, I'm pretty sure that was a brief weak tornado lifting that roof of that warehouse off, threw some debris a little bit, but after that, that was all I saw flying from that storm. But yeah, we are now dealing with a lot of rain here now. It's very messy. I'm getting hit by all the rain from this southwest storm, losing sight at times of this wall cloud. So I'm potentially thinking about one of these storms to the south might be more of the threat tonight as we go into the evening, but this is still a dangerous storm. I'm going to continue to track to the east, kind of stay between the two storms so I can watch both of them. Concerns about this storm as it moves to the east into the Dubuque area, quite a populated area, and we should see that low-level jet ramping up now and as we go later into the evening here. Back to you, Jeff.
All right, Aaron, thanks for that report there. Really good stuff. We don't celebrate any damage by any stretch, but we really appreciate the information, the insight, and it's very valuable information. And again, chaotic cell mergers can do pretty wild things. It's going to be very challenging again as several areas of rotation may flare up. They may wind down. The predominant primary zone of rotation that's been most sustained has been up to the north here into Delaware County near Manchester. Law enforcement reporting a tornado earlier over Masonville. And again, Tony Lawback has a very good set of eyes on that one. And then just to the south, again, Aaron Jajak as well. So sometimes tornadoes, they may not be sustained on the ground for long. You can get a brief touchdown, it lifts, and then a brief touchdown again. But the area with the greatest confidence in the risk for a tornado remains into the area near Manchester in Delaware County of Iowa. Hey, like and subscribe our Facebook feed or our YouTube channel here. Like and subscribe to our YouTube channel on this channel here on YouTube. We want you to be able to get alerts whenever we do these live updates, and we're keeping an eye out for some of your messages here. Somebody's wondering if central Wisconsin is in danger. I'm going to zoom the map out here and head back up that way. Central Wisconsin, if you're north of Stevens Point, you're going to be okay, but farther south, we have big concerns about the Madison area, and I want to take us into southwestern Wisconsin, a new confirmed tornado warning Things are really flaring up here for us. As we switch over to the high-res radar data out of La Crosse, here we've got a confirmed tornado warning in the area near Fenimore. Zooming out just to orient myself here, this radar data is coming from north to south from the La Crosse location. The way this can be interpreted here, we have red outbound wind and green inbound wind. So they're kind of at almost opposed to one another, but there's an area here near Fenimore where you can see a little bit more of a southern protrusion to the outbound wind. So the area of rotation is generally between Fenimore and Preston. I'm going to zoom in so you can see these city labels here. There's Preston. So again, this is the area of rotation where there is possibly a tornado, and this is in Grant County, Wisconsin. Too many mice here, but trying to control a few different computers at the same time. But this rationale here for the confirmed tornado, law enforcement confirming this tornado as well. Near Fenimore, 10 miles north of Lancaster, moving east at 25 miles per hour. So it's a little bit of a slower mover, moving east at 25 miles per hour. If we extrapolate its movement, you can see Montford in about 17 minutes, Highland in about 25 minutes. So we're looking at about 6:04 Central Time, 6:04 Central Time for the arrival in Montford. 5:56 in Montford there, and 7:04 in Highland. So those are the times there in which it will arrive. Take shelter now if you're in those areas. That's the big message. Let's go back up to Madison, Wisconsin. We have big concerns about that area as well. Tornado warning moving through this area. Nasty hook to this one. This storm not interfered with a cell merger or by a cell merger at this point. So there you can see almost like a cinnamon bun type of rotation. The velocity data still indicating obviously a couplet inbound, outbound. A little looser. The bigger argument for a tornado here is the overall structure of the storm itself. Big hail up over Pierceville, Wisconsin. Stay with us. And thanks for staying with us here on the nonstop YouTube live here, simulcast. We've occasionally been sending our viewers on the AccuWeather network to commercial break and AccuWeather Now if they're watching through Roku or some other streaming services we are partnered with. But we've had a number of reports of damaging wind, large hail, and we have several tornado threats in progress right now. So we have currently 4 different tornado warnings. They're all clustered in the area of the upper Midwest. And hats off to our forecast team. We have this graphic here that's highlighting where the tornado warnings are. In fact, I'm going to go rogue here just because we can and see if I can turn on the tornado warnings on this graphic. And I'm going to have to slide layers around. I'm going to turn watches off. This is kind of how we build our graphics sometimes. If I slide this, I've never done this. I'm trying to slide the severe warnings to a different layer here. Well, you know what I could do? I can maybe embed it. This is not the most compelling TV. I'm trying to make these guys appear. You know what? If I just turn that off, you could see, and I'm gonna undo what I just did. But you can see those tornado warnings are right in the area here where our highest tornado risk has been located in our forecast map. 2 confirmed here in that area. So this is why we're highlighting that area. You may notice that Chicago, we don't have anything going on radar-wise there yet. In fact, when I go back to radar, it's a quiet evening in Chicago. It's warm. But it's very lovely out there weather-wise in Chicago, but we can't get comfortable because tonight, even though it's nice, dry, 80 degrees, we are highlighting the area of Chicago for a severe risk. In fact, we're going with a high risk. That's 3 out of 4 on the 4-tiered AccuWeather Severe Threat Index. And as we zoom in on future radar, this is the model I chose to feed and populate the future radar, at least for the precipitation here, is called the High Resolution Rapid Refresh, the HRRR. And in this case, we are seeing kind of like the short-term model, and it really closes the storms in on Chicago around 10 or 11 p.m. So I'm going to check out some of these comments or questions that you may have in the chat here. I'm trying to kind of hit the big points and make everybody as happy as possible. So we do care about your comments. But overall, we are tracking big storms through the Madison area. And Jesse Farrell's been kind of responding to some of these as well. going to go back to the live chat here. You can, somebody's wondering where you can see the actual radar and not just the warnings. Here, I'm going to bring the radar back up here right now. So here's the radar. One of you is wondering where the radar is without just the warnings. So here's the radar and a big picture scan of where we're tracking severe storms. We got some strong storms coming out of Mexico. We have some severe weather moving through southwest Oklahoma and areas west of Wichita Falls. Some of this moving through the area near Walters, Oklahoma. Large hail and damaging wind. You're okay for the short term in Oklahoma City, Tulsa, Joplin, Springfield, but later on we expect to see some severe weather in some of those areas. By far, we've been highlighting the severe weather rolling through Cedar Rapids. Somebody mentioned that this tornado sirens were going off in Cedar Rapids. I don't know the local policy there. But there is no tornado threat. There's no significant tornado threat at the moment in Cedar Rapids. There's a severe thunderstorm threat in Cedar Rapids, but 34 severe thunderstorm warnings as you're reading there right now, and then more storms to the east. And the AccuWeather Network rejoins us here live with our YouTube simulcast. We're tracking clusters of thunderstorms. By far the most severe weather right now in the nation, as I pull the map out, is moving through the area of the Midwest, the upper Midwest, eastern parts of Iowa, Wisconsin, far southeast Minnesota, and soon northern Illinois is going to step in on that. Another cluster of storms rolling through far eastern Indiana, near and south of Fort Wayne. Some storms are of a different character here in the Northeast, but they are severe in some cases. We'll look at them in a little bit. And then some typical April severe storms rolling through parts of Oklahoma and Texas. I say typical because it's a common occurrence, but man, they're dangerous out there with damaging wind and hail. So it's a pretty good, looks like a wall cloud that we're looking at there, bottom left. That is not a live shot, but the live feed bottom central is Tony Lawback's dash cam, and he is in the area here of one of these storms that has been listed as a confirmed tornado warning. Law enforcement in Iowa reported a brief sighting of a tornado touchdown in the Masonville area. Now, this storm is changing character. There is still a risk of a tornado, but as we take a look at this area here, there's a cell merger. Another storm has kind of run into this one from the southwest, moving into the predominant, formerly rotating storm. And it is still rotating, but the character of the rotation is kind of reshaping. So we have flooding in Cedar Rapids there, Barry. That's a good call there. So street flooding in Cedar Rapids. But the nature of this area of rotation, you can see it's almost hopping a little farther south. This cell merger doesn't necessarily end the tornado threat, but it often restructures storms. And so what we're seeing, if we go back, in fact, I think I have the ability here to scrub back in time. I'm going to go back in time a little bit here. And you can see there was a consistent zone where there was consistent rotation moving from Independence to the point right here. That is the area of, I think it is a town named Masonville, where that tornado was seen by law enforcement. I'm going to go forward a little bit here after to make this work. I think I have to. No, I can do it without removing the telestrator. Look at this now. Totally different area where the rotation has kind of refocused down near Golden and Ryan. That's where Aaron Jack's located. And this storm has restructured because of the interaction of this storm that was moving northeast, kind of running right into a collision between storms. We call that a cell merger. And as I zoom back out, I don't think we're going to go back too far in time to the point that we can't see it. You can see at the beginning of this loop, we had two separate, totally discrete, individual, not connected storms. And at the end of the loop, this guy ran northeast, this guy ran directly east, and just like a collision here, the storm is restructuring, so the area of rotation is beginning to kind of reformat, and it's now more likely down near Delhi, Golden, and Ryan, and perhaps a little less likely that we see a confirmed tornado touchdown over Manchester. Now, with that said, we want to go to southwest Wisconsin again because we have so many different concerns. And Barry, if I need to go to anybody else, let me know. I don't want to miss something here. Okay. I want to briefly take a look at what's going on here in Fenimore because this is also again, a confirmed tornado in Wisconsin here in Grant County, Wisconsin. I'm going to switch back over. I think La Crosse, Wisconsin is going to give us our best set of eyes for this one. So from La Crosse's perspective, here we are. We're going to take a look at the velocity scan. And still a pretty obvious couplet. In fact, this may have tightened up a little bit more. It's also kind of restructuring, reshaping. You could see this element. I'm going to go back in time a little bit. This strong inbound wind signature that came into, so here's your established area of rotation, but then look at this rogue area where we have strong wind, and watch how that behaves. It comes farther northeast, and this may be another cell interaction, and that actually has worked to increase rotation in the short term. I'm going to go back to the precip reflectivity here. So another cell merger, and in this case, we had a tornado touchdown from this cell that's been moving east, and then there's this other element. Here it is, pulling northeast sharply into the storm. And in this case, in this location, we're dealing with an area of rotation that's actually strengthening temporarily because of the cell merger. So look out in Centerville, confirmed tornado recently off to your west, an area of rotation retightening there. And we have some concerns for you. Tornado warning in effect here in eastern Grant County, Wisconsin, until 7:15. So I'm just taking a look out. I don't want to miss any of your significant reports here, but I want to keep my head on a swivel because we have storms elsewhere as well. The Madison storm was a nasty one. Tornado warning continues for you. Heading back over to the high-res radar data out of Milwaukee. Madison, if you're in Madison proper, if you're downtown Madison, Wisconsin, if you're on the main campus there for the home of the Badgers, I would say that you can come out of your shelter at this point. The storm is now moving through far eastern Dane County and into western parts of Jefferson County. And looking at the velocity scan here, man, it doesn't look as impressive as it did a little bit ago. There was certainly an area of rotation. It's beginning to morph, and it doesn't look like it's sustaining itself too significantly. When I say that, I want to take you kind of into my head a little bit. And here, if we go back far enough, there's your couplet. Here's your radar site. So the pulses are coming out from that location. We had inbound movement, outbound movement. So there's your rotation. Here was your possible tornado. And as we go forward in time, scrubbing forward, very little residual inbound movement. Some outbound. And again, the storm motions are subtracted out of this. So this is storm relative motion, but the area of rotation is weaker. The bigger deal here is probably hail. And we go to the storm hazards, and this is the big deal here. Look at this hail, 2 to 3 inch diameter hail east of Madison, approaching Lake Mills, and also moving into an area near Watertown, Wisconsin. That's a big deal. This is like insurance claim hail that can damage vehicles. Deep reflectivity, the deep reds there, where we have very significant large hail coming down within these storms. Also, a confirmed tornado up into Boston, Wisconsin. We'll look at this after the commercial break. We'll also look at this live on YouTube right now. So thanks for staying with us here. Another storm, just so many storms to track. In La Crosse, Wisconsin, we're going to go back over to the high-res radar data, and we do appreciate your questions here. Jesse Farrell is approaching, or he's answering as many of these as he can as well, but I just want to keep my head on a swivel and not miss a significant tornado on the map here because I'm taking my eye off the ball. But your questions are important, and the fact that you're here with us is very important. So stay with us here on the AccuWeather network and also the AccuWeather YouTube stream. The network actually is on a commercial break right now. La Crosse radar site, we're going to switch over to the high-res data and the velocity couplet here near Boston. And this is in Juneau County, Wisconsin. And the rationale here, radar confirmed tornado here. This was not seen by human eyes, but the radar data suggested a tornado here. You can see a pretty tight couplet. I'm going to play this loop here. And man, that was a tightening of the storm right over Union Center. I would not at all be surprised if we learn of a tornado there in Union Center. Sometimes these storms really tighten up for a moment, for a scan or two. This probably maintained itself for several scans. It may still be producing a tornado, but look at that right over Union Center. At that moment, this was at 6:35 Eastern, 5:35 Central. Strong outbound wind right up against some tenacious inbound wind right over Union Center. And as we look at how this has morphed, still a tornado probably. Now we watch as it moves into the area near Lindina. Still a radar confirmed tornado tornado warning until 7 p.m., but the character of the rotation is changing a little bit. And I'm going to explain this briefly here, and then we'll move on to the next thing as AccuWeather Network returns with us here right now. So thanks for joining us here on the AccuWeather Network. We've been looking at this commercial free here on YouTube. I'm looking at the area in west central, kind of southern and southwestern parts of Wisconsin, the area near Mauston. We have had a likely tornado touchdown near Union Center. The question is it still on the ground or not? Going to the velocity scan, you can see it's a little muddy looking, right? You can see some red outbound, some green inbound, but take a look at what went on just minutes ago. I'm going to go back in time, right over there in Union Center. That was a very tight couplet, and again, that prompted the confirmed tornado warning. I'm going to look at the correlation coefficient here. This is wild-looking data. I realize it looks totally useless, but what I'm looking at is this is showing us if the radar is seeing stuff, if it's bouncing off of stuff that's all the same size and shape or not. If you're dealing with something that's all the same size and shape, it's mainly rain. If that, I think that's a tornado. That was a tornado. Look at this. If there was ever an example of the correlation coefficient dropping out, we went from yellows and oranges where it was rain, very heavy rain, and also perhaps some hail mixed in, a lot of hail to the north. And then we went all the way down. I think this is probably the worst example, best example, but most unfortunate example of a correlation coefficient, just obvious sign, if there ever was one, of debris, tree debris and vegetation being lofted up right over Union Center. So that's certainly, without a doubt, why this was a very high confidence tornado confirmation by radar. Again, may not look like it there, but you go to that correlation coefficient, and the key is you have to marry that product up with the velocity, but it matches to a T, right down to the pixel. So there was certainly a tornado between Union Center and Elroy. Hopefully everybody's okay. We'll be looking for new information there, but that storm continues to become disorganized into Mauston. Take shelter there. And now we just went to commercial break on the AccuWeather Network. But in Mauston, again, continue to take shelter. It may retighten, but the experience you're going to have is different than what just happened in Union Center. There was a tornado between Elroy and Union Center. Even though there may not have been human eyes on that, there is certainly a very strong signal that debris was obviously lofted up into the sky with that one, with just a classic. This is, you put a picture of this into a textbook and people expect it to be this easy all the time, and it's not. This is a very, very, very easily verified bit of debris there, right over the N in Union Center, and that happened at 6:41. So a tornado touched down around 6:38. Somebody 100 years ago, they couldn't even come close to using technology like this. But we have eyes in so many ways, and there are no longer many. There are always mysteries out there. But again, with a storm like this, we can learn a lot about what just happened. Heading farther south, we are still tracking this tornado-warned cell that was kind of the victim of a cell merger that led to some erratic storm interactions as one storm ran into another. We had an established rotating storm coming east. Another storm kind of came in almost like a linebacker here, and that has reoriented some of the storm structure. I'm going to go to the high-res radar data out of Davenport, Iowa, and we're going to go to the velocity scan here. And again, there's still a pretty obvious sign of rotation with this. It has restructured and moved farther southeast with that cell merger. So again, tornado threat still present. It's kind of hovering and favoring the southern side of this tornado warning. Not ridiculously so, but it's in the southern half of it between Manchester and an area north of Hopkinton. That is in Iowa. I'm going to mouse wheel out here. We're going to zoom out, show you what else is going on. And we have a newer tornado warning here into southern and southeastern parts of Iowa, moving into the area near Washington. This is Washington County, northern portions of Jefferson County, Iowa. Davenport's going to be our best bet again. So coming up into the high-res radar data out of Davenport, switching over to the velocity scan. This is a small couplet here, not as obvious, but let's take a look at the, sometimes there are different arguments for a tornado. Like for that one up near Mauston, reflectivity didn't look all that impressive, but when we looked at that correlation coefficient and saw that the radar was seeing all kinds of different stuff up there, different sizes and shapes, obviously debris, 100% confidence. If there was ever a correlation coefficient signal, that was it. In this case, velocity scan Not a very obvious signal there. There's a little zone of rotation I could arrow and point out, but it's not as compelling. In this case, the reflectivity signature is a little bit more of a compelling argument here. You can see there is some rotation here. It's a small but developing and strengthening supercell with some rotation, and on the north side, obviously, some hail as well. That is impacting areas right along the county line, Jefferson, Washington County line, east-southeast of Richland, and approaching that area. Hey, I want to take a look at some of your comments and questions here. I'm glad that you're. Somebody has us in the background here. People wondering about Barneveld, Wisconsin, any possible tornado reports there, and people wondering about what's going on in downtown Madison. Perhaps some of you have kids in that area, wondering how they fared with the hail. If that's your concern, I have kids too, and hey, they're not in college yet, but we want to know how they're doing, obviously. And here are some of the hail reports in Madison. Funnel cloud over Maple Bluff earlier. I'm going to briefly pause and then give kind of a reset as the AccuWeather Network rejoins us. All right, thanks for joining us here on the AccuWeather Network. We've been chatting with some of you on YouTube. Zoom, if you're going to be heading out, maybe stepping away from the TV, bring up our YouTube feed and we can kind of interact that way. Jesse Farrell responding to some of you as well. Some people are wondering where the Illinois storms are. They're coming. They are coming later this evening. We'll be talking about that. But Aaron Rigsby in the area of Masonville, Iowa, saying that there is some damage there in Masonville, Iowa, destructive tornado. We'll look at that in just a minute, that there had been a destructive tornado in Masonville. Masonville was the area where law enforcement reported that spin up. Tony Lawback has been in that area as well. So we're learning of some damage there. Let's take a quick look at a few of these storms, and then I'm going to get out to Tony Lawback. All right, thank you there, Barry. We'll get to Tony here in just a moment. There is a tornado warning. I'm not going to bring up the high res right now. It's not terribly strongly rotating, but hail up on the Jefferson, Washington County line. There is a tornado risk there for you along the north side of Jefferson County into extreme southern Washington County. Take shelter. That's radar indicated. Heading up into this area here where we had a cell merger. This is where we are going to touch base with Tony Lawback. Then didn't forget about your question about Milwaukee. We're going to go to Milwaukee. We'll look at some of the storm reports. There has been a lot of hail there. But again, the reports are that there was a destructive tornado in Masonville, according to storm chaser Aaron Rigsby. This is an area where we had a pretty dramatic cell merger, and Tony Lawback is on this storm. Tony, again, every storm is a different case study. We certainly saw a southeastward shift with the rotation after the cell merger, but perhaps in the nick of time before the circulation was disrupted, law enforcement reported that tornado touchdown. You were close to it, I know. What's your take on this whole situation?
You remember the conversation we had about the rotating rain curtains I was seeing. I would certainly say that supports the idea there as we were just outside the Masonville area. I'm on Highway 20 right now. I'm approaching Earlville. As you can tell, the midst of the storm right now, I'm trying to actually get to a southbound road to get out of this mess. I've heard a few clunkers, clunkers in terms of hail. Occasionally here on US 20, a lot of people pulled over, a lot of people driving slow. Again, the visibility right now is about half a mile at its best. You are right now. You got folks there near the overpass, so an overpass coming up. We're making that approach. Again, we're talking less than half a mile visibility here in the rain. Again, if you buy the velocity couplet there, certainly not out of the question. We still have some rotation. Positioning more to outflow, more of a damaging wind type event. So I think that's going to be the primary concern. But I'm really concerned with the storms south. The ones on the southern fringe of this line here. This would be down near the Mosa area. There's quite a hooking storm down there, not quite tornado warned. I imagine that's going to change pretty quickly. So I'm about 30 miles to the west of Dubuque. I'm going to try to get south out of Dyersville and get in front of that cell down to the south. But right now, again, very hazardous commute. Pardon my voice here. We've all been doing a lot of talking today. but we are definitely having some issues here on Highway 20. Zero visibility at times, definitely a quarter to a half a mile at its best in the midst of this cell right now. Mixed in occasionally at times, but tornadic threat seems to be here along US 20.
All right, Tony. Well, hey, thank you for that report, Tony. And again, just to give you an idea, I was kind of here. We have U.S. Route 20. Tony's on it there, and this is U.S. 20. It runs east to west across much of the nation, right through Toledo there as well. He used to work off of that, but he's trying to hook it east. And he wants to get out of this mess. The Weather Service just issued a tornado warning for the cell that he had mentioned here. Tony, they're a step ahead of the game. This storm now near Anamosa is a little bit unencumbered here. It's going to make a run northeast, but for now, its southeastern flank is an open road here, and you can see the radar data is coming from this area near Davenport, Iowa. So there's nothing going on down this way. I know some of you in Illinois are saying, there's nothing going on. What's up? We'll look at that in a minute. We're going to see storms in Illinois later this evening. But this storm is rolling right through the area near Anamosa, and there is a pretty nasty hook to this. So as we switch over to the velocity scan, here you can see it's beginning to tighten up a little bit. Green against red. And you can see the green signature here against the red, and an area of rotation is beginning to develop here within this area near Anamosa. And that is going to be a supercell thunderstorm. Tony mentioned that the storm to the north is becoming outflow dominant. And I agree with him. When you look at the radar data here, you can see how we went from a relatively defined area of green versus red to now a broad zone where, as I just grabbed the most recent frame, lots of inbound wind here. So that's the rear flank downdraft kind of outrunning. The gust front is like a small scale cold front now making a run through this area. Instead of true rotation, it's becoming a gust front. Now, that's pretty decent lightning in Dyersville, Iowa. Barry, that bottom, the third video, bottom left there, is that from yesterday or today? That's today. Okay. And I think when it panned left, was that some damage? I just happened to look up at a moment. I'm not sure. Obviously, lots of hail, significant volume of hail. Okay, so you said there is some damage, Barry? All right, and is that from Aaron Rigsby? Or maybe somebody else? Aaron Rigsby was reporting some damage there in the area west of Manchester and Masonville from that earlier tornado-warned setup. So right now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tornado warnings between Iowa and Wisconsin, the southern half of Wisconsin. If you're in Iowa City, what do you wonder what's going on in Iowa City? You have a small hail producer coming in from the southwest. It's not going to be a memorable storm, I don't think, for you. There's a lot of lightning with it, but I don't think it's going to have enough time to really ramp up. It's a severe storm, but it's not producing the large hail or the significant tornado risk that others are finding elsewhere. Some of you wondered about Madison, Wisconsin. Lots and lots of hail there. Some of you have kids there. And when we take a look at the high-res radar data, I'm going to go back to the high-res, but I need to bring up the Milwaukee radar site. Just an army of hail reports here, an ocean of them. A lot of the hail reports in downtown were around an inch. Ping pong ball size, also bigger than that. So we've had some relatively large hail. The biggest hail, though, was up to the north, 2-inch diameter hail, the size of eggs. Also, you can see there was a funnel cloud near Maple Bluff, Wisconsin, as well. Now, let's go back to the current tornado threat. We have Menominee Falls here, and oh man, this is a tough one for me. I'm not even going to try. There was a time when I nailed the pronunciation of this, and I know it's a relatively large town. Forgive me for not sticking the landing here with Okanamawamak. I don't think that was it. But it is a large town here in western Waukesha County, barely north of the Milwaukee radar site. And the couplet that I'm seeing is just east of that town. Can't seem to avoid it. But here's the outbound, strong inbound, very, very strong inbound wind. We're getting a real close view of this. So this possible tornado is moving through west central parts of Waukesha County, just southwest of Stonebank. What did you say there, Knobs? Okay, Tony has some good video coming up on in the big box. So we're going to go back to U.S. Route 20 there in Iowa to show you what Tony is tracking right now. And that's currently where you can see bottom central there. So a lot of lightning, very heavy rain. The storm that he is on is this one, a tornado-warned cell in Delaware County of Iowa. Increasing trend of more rotation down to the south into Anamosa with the second cell. That's the one that Tony actually has his eyes on as a destination. But this storm to the north, again, it's becoming a little more outflow dominant. Rotation trends to the north up near and east of Manchester, weakening. The Weather Service editing their previous confirmed tornado warning to a radar indicated warning. I would still take shelter if I were in Delaware County of Iowa. Still take shelter. Just play it safe until this warning totally leaves your area. There is a couplet still. There is an area of rotation, but there's also the signature of this becoming an outflow dominant storm. So it might almost be like the northern part of what's becoming a bookend vortex regarding where there could be some extra spin in the atmosphere. And again, a tornado can be fueled by many different processes here. The atmosphere is a fluid, it's chaotic, and there's still a risk of a tornado here. But the bigger risk is trending upward here near Anamosa in Jones County of Iowa, and then all the way down into an area south of Washington. We're still tracking a storm that has a nasty little hook to it here. It's a small storm, but a tornado threat still continues northern Jefferson, southern Washington County, Iowa. As that continues to pull through Iowa City, you just got your new severe thunderstorm warning. Again, it's a pesky small cell hail. A very good bet there. Strong winds. That's your biggest storm there in Iowa City. But north of you, you have a bigger storm complex farther to the northeast. And in Chicago, again, some of you have been wondering, where are the storms? I'm going to go briefly to this view of future radar. The gap is going to fill in here. We will see some strong and severe storms later this evening, Rockford to Chicago, and it's going to be a very stormy late night after midnight. Have that AccuWeather app on with a NOAA weather radio as well. So we just sent the AccuWeather network to a break, and Tony's got some decent rain and some lightning. I'm not sure if he's made the southbound curve yet, but he's spinning around here and giving us a view of what's going on. He's just turned around, and I want to get inside Tony's head. Can we go to Tony right now, Barry? I wonder, I saw he just pulled a U-turn. So, Tony, you just pulled a U-turn. What's going on?
Well, I took the wrong exit, Jeff, mainly because I can't see. So we are working our way to Dyersville right now. So I took the exit before then by accident. You've seen the dash cam. I mean, the visibility at times is gone to zero. So I'm going to attempt to get south on the correct exit that I can actually see. But nasty storm right now. I do not recommend if you're on US 20 to travel.
Yeah, well, hey, I don't blame you. And I didn't intend to broadcast your U-turn. I've missed a lot of exits in my day, and I'm sure there are more ahead. I just was wondering. I saw when you do an about face, I wasn't sure if something caught your eye that was worth turning around for. But again, Tony, you're moving through some really heavy rain. All right, good stuff, Tony. Be safe. I
will.
All right. And one of you wondering about Baraboo, Wisconsin. Tornado sirens in Baraboo. All right, so here's the deal. Some municipalities will sound the tornado sirens if any part of their county is under a warning. And then others will only sound the sirens for the areas officially under the Weather Service issued tornado polygon. In this case, if you're in downtown Baraboo, the tornado threat is barely to your north. But if you're generally in the Baraboo area, up into the Wisconsin Dells area, and sometimes I've lived in the Midwest for several years, people sometimes they say I'm in Baraboo, but they're really 9 miles north of there. If you're 9 miles north of Baraboo, you're in the tornado risk area. If you're in downtown Baraboo, no tornado threat at the moment for you, but there is a tornado warning for the northern end of Sauk County, up into Wisconsin Dells, Columbia County, Wisconsin, southwestern parts of also Marquette County, Wisconsin. And I'm going to bring up the radar scan for this one. Kind of in the neutral zone. I don't know if La Crosse or Milwaukee's going to give us our best bet. I want to measure this here. sometimes I know that the consultants say people like to see us pull the curtain back. But again, some of this is just the practicality of me trying to stay on top of radar, verbalizing what I'm doing. So we're 75 miles from Milwaukee. And as we switch over to the radar data from La Crosse, Wisconsin, I want to pick the closest radar site. And that's what I'm trying to do here. So this is 70 miles. Marginally, actually, the best bet is still from La Crosse, Wisconsin. As we go back to the velocity scan here, sometimes there's benefit to going a little farther away if it's an undisturbed view. In this case, we got a lot of noise on all sides of the storm. But the risk of a tornado is greatest here between Wisconsin Dells and Big Spring. So if I'm in downtown Baraboo, there is a very, very weak couplet in your area, but that's not a tornado-warned storm. If the sirens just sounded in Baraboo, sometimes emergency management may see something that's not warned, and they'll do it for that reason. So again, my suspicion, I don't want to say something that's contrary to local emergency management. If they have eyes on the ground, and I know some of us may have a meteorology degree and so forth, but we have to have the humility. You have eyes on the ground in ways that I don't. I'm looking at radar. But to the north, the tornado threat that likely prompted that siren sounding is up to the north in northern Sauk County. So we're looking at Wisconsin's Dells. If you're joining us here through the AccuWeather network, we've been commercial free on the YouTube stream live. And again, the conversation was, why are the tornado sirens sounding in Baraboo County? I don't see anything threatening in downtown Baraboo, but up to the north, Sauk County, Columbia County, Adams County, there's nothing about the reflectivity in Baraboo proper that would warrant taking shelter if you're in downtown Baraboo. But if you're 7, 8, 9 miles north, 7, 8 miles north, take shelter. Wisconsin Dells, you got a tornado threat, and the risk is a little greater northeast. It's pooling northeast pretty swiftly. The true tornado threat is actually likely now into extreme northwestern Columbia County, Wisconsin, into southern parts of Adams County, Wisconsin. All right. Jesse mentioning 2 supercells here. The area that we're dealing with some nasty stuff, obviously, very, very large hail, and the tornado threat is greatest with the primary lead supercell that is moving into this area here. I'm going to hop over to the Milwaukee radar site here. This is a nasty, nasty looking storm, a very nasty looking storm when it comes to the precipitation depiction here, the reflectivity data. So let's look at this here. You can clearly see the structure of this storm. We got a supercell thunderstorm, huge hail to the north, and obviously the area of rotation is right in this zone. And I'm going to switch over from this product to the velocity scan, and that's going to show, in this case, this is storm relative velocity. If we look at just the raw base velocity, you get a slightly more clear picture in this example, outbound versus inbound. Outbound versus inbound. And going to if we subtract out the storm motions, which I know is a little bit kind of something else to think about, but it actually helps us when we're tracking tornado threats sometimes. There's a tornado risk in a couple of these areas here, but primarily into this area just southeast of Stone Bank, south of Merton, into an area approaching Milwaukee. If you're in Waukesha County, take shelter. If you are in this area, we have an ongoing tornado threat. I'm going to briefly bring up really chaotic looking data. This is the correlation coefficient, and I don't want to miss anything. There's a second zone here where there's a correlation coefficient dropout where we may have another tornado. So we may have 2 separate tornadoes here in this area. What I don't like seeing is this second couplet right here, and the way that is co-located with this correlation coefficient dropout. This is showing us if the radar is seeing stuff that's all the same size and shape, or if there's a variety of sizes and shapes of the stuff that the radar pulse is bouncing off of. Now, we're very close to the radar site here. The radar site just down here at this cone of silence, so we're looking only 8 or 9 miles. We're looking up very low in the atmosphere. It's possible that a low-level circulation could have been lofting debris up here into this area. There may be a second tornado in this area. I spend a lot of time looking at storm survey information here, keeping the tally and so forth. Jesse Farrell and I do that quite a bit. And I'm often amazed at the fact that you track one big supercell with a strong tornado signature with kind of a secondary debatable one, and a lot of the time a second one is confirmed. So real close to the area near Akanamawak. I don't know if I nailed it or not, but I know it's a relatively populated place here. But there may be a second tornado, despite the fact that the primary rotation zone is certainly to the east. And I'm basing that off of that correlation coefficient dropout. I'm going to loop this, though. I do want to loop this. Sometimes when you get real close to a radar site, you can get an animation that highlights the same pixels because you're hitting an antenna or a building, or in the west, a mountain. And I'm not seeing quite as bold of a signature there. Again, we're so close to the radar site, there's a lot of noise. There is a lot of noise, admittedly. So the primary tornado risk is certainly moving through an area farther east. And again, conventional wisdom would say focus on the big area here. I got to turn the ruler off. Focus on the predominant tornado risk, which is obviously this area of rotation here, that bulge on the south side of our supercell. Heavy rain, large hail to the north, and that velocity couplet here is showing us a signature of some outbound versus inbound wind. I'm going to just go to the straight up base velocity, and here you can see where part of the storm is moving away from the radar site, and we have movement in toward the radar site. And again, there is a risk of a tornado here in Waukesha County, Wisconsin. So that's a big concern. The hail is a huge issue. Very, very large hail. But again, among the storm hazards here, the hail is the highest confidence part of this whole conversation. In northern parts of Waukesha County, look out. This is like insurance claim hail here that'll do some damage to some vehicles. If you're in Menominee Falls, Grafton, Whitefish Bay, the north side of Milwaukee, if you're in Milwaukee, even in Oak Creek to the south, there will be more storms. Put that car into the garage if you're up against the lakeshore of Lake Michigan. Do it now before this rolls in, because you're going to have some big hail. Flash flooding ongoing. I want to see what's going on, though. Aaron Rigsby has reported some damage, and we want to go to Mr. Rigsby. Aaron, you've been a busy man lately. We are in eastern parts of Iowa. So tell us what you have seen here. I know that law enforcement also confirmed a tornado near Masonville. Oh, we just lost him. All right. I'm not seeing any storm reports plotted yet for Masonville, but this area here earlier, not now, but earlier, was where a report from law enforcement of a tornado was filed. You can see a report to the north here. That was a funnel cloud up near Strawberry Point. But there was a law enforcement reported tornado there in the area near Masonville. And Barry, let me know if he comes back, and we'll get right over to him. All right, thank you, Barry. Talking to producer Barry Wade. He is the man. Barry shifted his schedule back to work with us. He's typically he is Bernie and Ari's handler on the morning shift, so we appreciate Barry. But Watertown, Wisconsin, baseball-size hail in the Watertown, Wisconsin area. That is some big-time hail, larger than what we saw in downtown Madison. Baseball-size hail. I got too much stuff here on the map, but into the area near, again, Watertown, Wisconsin, in that western cell. Baseball-size hail. Stay with us here on the AccuWeather Network. We'll be right back. All right, Barry, we're still with you here on the feed. You know what? I shifted my map. I got a lot of browsers open, and I want to keep an eye on some of the chat here. Wisconsin Dells, that's a big concern right now because of that ongoing tornado threat. Somebody was wondering, should Waukesha be sheltering from the possible tornado? Waukesha, this is, again, your borderline. If you're in downtown Waukesha, like the 100 block of South whatever street in Waukesha, the tornado threat's going to probably pass to your north. If you have kids and you're home, I would take shelter. If you're anywhere 2 steps north of downtown Waukesha, I would take shelter. I would take shelter because we do have a tornado threat to your north and large hail farther to the north. But again, the risk is certainly greatest on the north side of Waukesha, and again, up to the north there. In 1 minute, we're going to go over to Aaron Rigsby when the AccuWeather Network rejoins us here. It's going to be, again, he'll probably stay with us through the 2-minute hit. We have a brief AccuWeather Network rejoin for 2 minutes, but we'll stay with you live here. And again, we'll probably hit him again soon in the second half hour as well. But Waukesha, thank you. I appreciate Waukesha. I see the pronunciation. This is very helpful. Very helpful. I do appreciate it, and I do not pretend to know how to pronounce every town name in America. So, and again, people sometimes get upset for that mispronunciation, but I appreciate the grace. We are dealing with some nasty storms moving through Wisconsin. Several tornado warnings here, and in just a few minutes, a few seconds, the AccuWeather Network is going to rejoin us, and then we'll probably switch over to Aaron Rigsby very soon. So he's going to give us an update on the nature of possible damage there. And let's go to Iowa now and into the area west of Manchester in Masonville. Aaron Rigsby, at least, has recently been there. Aaron, are you still with us right now?
I am, Geoff. I'm still here. Sorry, we've been having some data issues with how tall these storms are. It's been blocking my Starlink, so we should be back now that we're getting out ahead of these storms. I'm just pulling into Dubuque now on Highway 20, getting back out ahead of these storms and going to cross the river and drop south toward that tornado warning storm that is isolated and could pose a strong tornado potential here in the next probably 30 minutes or so.
Okay, well, hey, I didn't mean to put you 2-3 counties behind your current location. I know that at one point, though, were you in that storm? Did you see any damage with that law enforcement confirmed tornado?
Yeah, Geoff, we actually had a very close encounter with that tornado. It touched down just to the southeast of Masonville. It just barely avoided the bulk of town. Unfortunately, though, it did clip several farmsteads and knocked down power lines literally right in front of us. It was so buried in rain, and I was positioned north of the tornado when it touched down, and it ended up crossing the road just southeast of town. And that's when that really strong, what we call the inflow jet, it's almost like a ghost train that follows behind the tornado, was extremely destructive and knocked down multiple power lines. And I have no doubt that there was other damage scattered out through there before we had to bail out because it was getting too sketchy for even us to be in there.
Okay. Well, hey, we appreciate your reports as always, Aaron. Aaron and I, we've known each other for, 12, 13 years, Aaron. I always appreciate all that you do. Met Aaron when I was working in Toledo, and he was a young storm chaser. You've been doing it for a long time, doing a great job, seeing some amazing things, and it's an important part of the process to keep people safe. So, Aaron, thanks again, man. Be safe out there. We will look forward to more footage from you and reports in the days to come, maybe even again in our next half hour, depending on what goes on. But in just a few seconds, the AccuWeather Network is going to briefly go to break, and we're going to stay with you live here on YouTube as well. All right, and we are staying live on YouTube. We're dealing with some nasty storms. Western Ohio there, west of I-75, a big cluster of storms rolling in. Some storms that are rolling through areas near Breezewood and Bedford, Pennsylvania, southern PA, southern Wisconsin, parts of Massachusetts, up into the northeastern part of Pike County, PA, Wayne County. That's Wayne County, I should say. And you could see some footage there from Reed in Masonville, Iowa. So he was in that storm as well. That's extreme meteorologist Reed Timmer there. He's the biggest name in chasing here for a long time. He has a PhD. He knows what he's doing. But all these guys are great. And as we take a look at some of these storms moving into an area west of Wichita Falls, east of Lawton, up near Altus, Oklahoma, severe weather in progress, severe thunderstorms. But man, it's hard to ignore just like a magnet. Wisconsin and eastern Iowa right now, nasty, nasty storms here. Our team at AccuWeather has done a good job with the forecast of where the tornado threat would be maximized. And here we are. This is the map we've been rolling out today. Again, eastern Iowa, southern Wisconsin, northern parts of Illinois. And I'm going to briefly just make part of that map disappear so you can see what's going on in there. So there are the tornado warnings, right? Not a good situation in this area. And there it is, the city labels and so forth. People are reporting that you need to know about Michigan. I understand. Really, my biggest concern for Michigan, it's going to be multifaceted. You got severe threats. There are going to be significant severe threats. Let's go to this future radar. But damaging wind, hail, but flash flooding is a big story tonight, I think, as well, in southern Michigan. If you're anywhere between Battle Creek, Grand Rapids, all the way east through Hillsdale and Lenawee County into Monroe, up into Wayne County, Detroit, west to Washtenaw County, all these areas here in the southern parts of Michigan, look at that rain. Now, on the front end of this, you may face some nasty storms that could be severe, probably will be severe, damaging wind, hail, and then that'll evolve into a heavy rain event. Once you have a steady, established shield of heavy rain falling in southern Michigan, you're going to be facing a transition from wind and hail gradually over to, again, very heavy rain and flash flood concerns. And then, unfortunately, on Wednesday, look at this. We haven't had a whole lot of time to talk about Wednesday. More rain, and then Wednesday night, Thursday, overnight again, another round of very heavy rain pivoting through the area that will be insult to injury. Wondering about Iowa City. Let's go back to radar here. What have you wondering about Iowa City? By the way, here's a look at the watches, kind of a reset. I'll do this in 2 minutes for the AccuWeather Network, and I want to be as helpful to as many of you as possible. Wondering about Iowa City. So I'm zooming in here. Iowa City, the risk in Iowa City is very, very low. I think the worst of this is generally through. The true front is still to your west. And if we go back over to that future radar product here, you can see there will be more storms in Iowa City. But the greatest risk is what's been going on with that leading edge. I think the storms that you get overnight tonight, smaller risk of severe, but the greatest risk has been really this evening, primarily to your east. And that's some great footage there in the bottom right there, Masonville, Iowa. So that was that rotating storm that produced some damage, as Aaron Rigsby just reported. And we're wondering about the rotation west of Dubuque. Jesse, I appreciate the extra eyes here. Rotation west of Dubuque. Let's go in here, and we're going to bring up the high-res radar data. I'm going to make that number one here when we come back to our AccuWeather Network rejoin here, with many people tuned in that way. All right, thanks for joining us live here on the AccuWeather Network, and we've been live on YouTube. We're going to take you into Dubuque here with rain and thunder, and again, we have Joey on Villanera. I'm trying to read. I may have butchered your handle there on YouTube, but hey, we appreciate the eyes there, and it's amazing. 40, 50 years ago, when I started in local TV about 20 years ago, we couldn't really do this. This is kind of fun to be able to interact with some of you here in the basement in Brookfield. We appreciate that you guys are taking the storm warnings, the tornado warnings seriously. We have many tornado warnings up in Wisconsin and eastern Iowa. Severe thunderstorms in a big cluster, Texas into southwestern Oklahoma. We even have some severe weather along the Pennsylvania Turnpike and near where 220 runs into the PA Turnpike, Breezewood, Bedford, some of those areas. Western Massachusetts, west of the Worcester Hills. Big storms collapsing in on Manchester and Concord, New Hampshire. Northern Poconos, western Catskills, seeing some severe weather. But the main event, and we got severe storms moving into western parts of Ohio. Look out there in Wapakoneta and southwest of Lima, southwest of Allen County. Worst of this, big thunderstorm moving into Lima. Worst of it will be south of your Wapakoneta there, which I think is near Armstrong's hometown. We got a tornado warning confirmed here northwest of Milwaukee. Let's look at that. Then I'm going to go back to Dubuque. I don't mean to go back on my word, but here Menominee Falls, a tornado warning confirmed here in a tornado confirmed, according to this warning in the Milwaukee area, west of Milwaukee. This is the big dog here. This is the most significant storm in eastern Wisconsin that has had established rotation. Man, this really flared up, and this is a confirmed tornado here. I'm going to switch over to another product that's unfortunately, I am concerned, is going to show us a correlation coefficient dropout, and there it is, very much so. It was there for well, when I first brought it up, it was there. Let me go back. I'm going to scrub back one frame. There it is. Okay. So what I'm looking at here, I know this data just looks ridiculously wild and probably not useful, but this is extremely meaningful here, that blue dot. So if you look at the key up here in the red, this is the radar seeing stuff that's all the same size and shape. It's rain. You get into the yellows, large hail up this way, where the radar is seeing things that have a correlation coefficient for you mathematicians out there, or maybe science people. The correlation coefficient is beginning to drop under 1. So we're seeing stuff that's different sizes and shapes. We dropped all the way down to about a 0.5. That's a strong signal that the radar is seeing all kinds of stuff, different sizes and different shapes. Now, you may say, well, what's the deal? West of Brookfield, lots of blue. Down to the radar site, lots of blue. The data is almost useless if you don't marry it up with a strong couplet. So what has my eye 1,000 times over here is this near Sussex, and this is not this is not right now. This is actually back at 7:30. What am I at here? I brought the clock back to 7:30. This is 2 or 3 minutes ago. But look at what unfortunately was happening in that same exact pixel, the same exact couple of pixels here. we had this unfortunate tightening of outbound wind. Think of tail lights, the radar sights off to the southwest. All right, we're going to go to Aaron Jajak. He's got a tornado on the ground elsewhere. All right, there is a tornado, though, beware, in Waukesha, Wisconsin. So that is an ongoing tornado threat into Menominee County. But we want to go to Jajak here. Where is Jajak? You said in Onslow? All right, do we have audio with him, or is this just the live feed? That's fine, Barry. Thank you. Talking to producer Barry Wade here. That's a confirmed tornado live. So you can see a rope tornado to the right. And again, your eye may first go to the big thing. It's the narrow cone to the right. And look at the condensation funnel with some debris, like an elephant trunk. All right, Mr. Jajak.
Hold on, I'm going to get out of the car.
Yeah, you do your thing, man. You do your thing. I'm going to, we just want to see your picture. Your picture is the most important, or your safety is the most important thing. Go ahead.
Right now, we've got this rope tornado right here, Onslow, Iowa. It's near Onslow, Iowa. This is the supercell that's south of that one that I was tracking earlier. That is a tornado on the ground. I'll flip the camera around here so you can get a better look. You can see the big debris cloud right now. Can you guys still hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Can you still hear me right now?
Yeah.
Okay. No, I thought I lost. But yeah, the tornado is in progress. Right now, I'm going to get in the car. We're going to get a little closer to it for you guys. Hold on.
All right, we're going to stay with your feet here, Jajak. Aaron Jajak, he's putting on. Go ahead, Aaron. Yeah, feel free to talk if it's helpful to you.
It'll struggle to stay in focus here, but this is tornado in progress. You can see the debris lifted up right now. It's a rope tornado. This storm's continuing to move off to the east right now. And these storms are moving fairly rapidly. In fact, you can tell the storm is moving rapidly. Look at how that tornado is getting stretched out from the base. The storm in the base is actually outrunning the debris cloud because of the friction on the ground there. Fast moving storm, tornado in progress. We're going to go up here a little bit east. Hold on. It's going to struggle to stay in focus because of the raindrops, so hold on. If you find yourself in the path of this storm, definitely take cover. This is Onslow, Iowa area, moving off to the east.
All right, you're continuing to watch.
Hold on 1 second, guys.
No, you're good, Aaron. You're good. We are with you live. We can see it's the right side. Your eye may be drawn to the most prominent darkness, but off to the right, there's that rope tornado, almost like an elephant truck off to the right.
It's starting to rope out. It looks like it's dissipating. Still rotation on the ground though. Still a very skinny little funnel. It's roping out. You can still see. Hold on, I'm gonna stop so you guys, so I can just show this to you. Well, let's get above this hill here. I want to show you guys that you can still see a little bit of condensation funnel there, even though it's roping out, and there still is contact on the ground. You can still see that dust and debris. Hold on, we're gonna stop right here. Got a high point. And I'll get out of the car again. Okay, here we go. As you can see, it's still on the ground there. You can see a little bit of a funnel, condensation funnel there. And there's still a little bit, if you look up a little bit higher, let's see if I can get it. See if the camera can see it now. I can't see it now. Still in progress though, still spinning there, still dirt, but it definitely is weakening here. Okay, we're gonna get back in the vehicle, see if we can get a little closer to this thing, if it produces again.
All right, well, Aaron, we appreciate that live tornado footage there in the area of eastern Iowa. Again, nasty stuff, Onslow, Iowa. Confirmed tornado in the area just moments ago by Aaron Jajak. We showed it to you live there, that photogenic rope tornado with a confirmed ground circulation and even a condensation funnel down to the ground as well there. So, Aaron, great stuff. Be safe out there. I don't know if he's still with us or not, but a quick look at that storm. Excuse me, a quick look at that storm here. Weather Service issuing a new warning for it. They're going radar indicated to the east here. But we just saw, again, 3 minutes ago, obviously at touchdown. Beautiful rainbow there from Tony's dash cam, by the way. But in Jackson County, Iowa, eastern Jones County, Iowa, an ongoing area of rotation. Again, it doesn't look as impressive here on the radar when we look at the velocity scan. But again, obviously, it's this notch where Mr. J. Jack saw and documented that photogenic rope tornado for us here live just minutes ago. Now, we have a huge population. We got, 649,000 of you under a tornado warning in Milwaukee. So I want to get up there. While I'm in the neighborhood, again, a quick look at the Dubuque area of rotation. Populated area here as well. In fact, this storm, again, in the area near Dubuque, has a good number of people. This is 76,000 people or so. And here we're looking at an ongoing area of relatively strong rotation as well. Strong inbound, some outbound. And that area of rotation, as we loop this, again, it also kind of has the fingerprint of some outflow dominance. I think there's a cold front attached to this, not a full-scale true cold front, but basically a gust front that's taking over on the south side. But still, there could be a tornado on the north side of that, like a bookend vortex here developing up into eastern areas near Dubuque County and eastern Dubuque County, just south of, but even near the city of Dubuque. Hey, we got to get up into Wisconsin again because Menominee Falls, we have a nasty storm that did really tighten up earlier. We saw that unfortunate correlation coefficient dropout. And there you can see the area of strong rotation here near Waukesha. And again, some of you correcting my spelling, and rightfully so. Scrolling up here. This is we have a tornado threat. Somebody's mentioning Madison, Wisconsin. Yeah, okay. You got a new cell off to the west of Madison. Flash flooding is a big concern. There's an area of rotation well to the west of Madison, but I want to focus here on Milwaukee here for a moment because just north of Milwaukee, we're dealing with an area where there was some very fierce rotation that tightened up west-southwest of Menominee Falls for a moment, and now there is still some rotation that could retighten. Again, the area of concern here, Milwaukee and Milwaukee County and Waukesha. But the big concern was that we likely saw a tornado just west-southwest of Menominee Falls about 15 minutes ago. Stay with us here on the AccuWeather Network. One of you on the chat here is wondering about Madison again. Madison, you got a flash flood warning, and we have a couple of areas of rotation off to the west. So I'm going to stay here with this Milwaukee radar site. And we do have an area of rotation, arguably two. Here's the outbound, here's the inbound. The primary zone of rotation here is moving to an area. It's on a path, a trajectory to approach Madison, moving into Dane County, northeastern Iowa County. But there's also a secondary zone over Mount Horeb, where there may also be some risk of a tornado. So I wouldn't sleep on that southern cell, even to the south of the official tornado warning. A couple of cells with some rotation approaching Madison. If you're in downtown Madison right now, you have a little bit of time, but not a lot. You're not officially under the tornado warning if you're in downtown Madison or east. If you're west of town, you're under a tornado warning. Take shelter. Now, you have concurrently a flash flood warning and a tornado warning at the same time. That's a big concern. And again, it can be kind of mixed messaging, right? You want to stay above flood prone areas for a flash flood warning, but you want to get down below ground for a tornado warning. So again, I think sometimes we overthink this. If your basement's not flooding, go to your basement. If you're concerned it may flood, maybe hang out near the steps, but get underground. If your basement's flooding, don't go into the basement. Stay in the lowest floor of your home. Maybe you want to stay on the steps of your basement above any water if you've taken on. You don't want to get in the basement if there's water in there. It's an electrical hazard. It's messy, and it's just nothing you want to be messing with. But again, if your basement's not flooded, even if you're under a flash flood warning, 99.999 times out of 10, you're going to be okay. The exceptions are the horrible events that we think about in New York City when walls collapsed with flash flooding, and that was the result of several inches of rain. All right, let's go to Waukesha, Wisconsin there. Bottom left, you can see Tony's dash cam in eastern Iowa. bottom center. And Aaron J. Jack's dash cam, he just documented that amazing photogenic rope tornado here for us not long ago. If you're in Milwaukee, continue to stay in your shelter. You still have a tornado warning for you moving into that area. The risk is still present. We had a brief but nasty tornado touchdown based on a high confidence correlation coefficient signal where there was clearly debris getting lofted up along with tightening rotation southwest of Menominee Falls for a time. That's a little more disfigured now. It hasn't maintained itself, but we still have several tornado threats here on the map, and I have a lot of reports on. Let's go into this area here, Louisa County, Iowa. I haven't been down this way for a little bit, and I want to make sure we're not missing anything significant near Davenport, Iowa. And then I'm going to zoom out. It's easy to not see the forest for all the trees here and sometimes get so zoomed in, then you zoom out. And again, I'm trying to keep my head on a swivel. The 3 confirmed tornado warnings are in Wisconsin and Iowa. Numerous tornado warnings, but they're all Illinois, Iowa, and Wisconsin. You may say, Illinois, what's up with that? We haven't had much of that yet. We're just beginning to see the severe risk escalate into Illinois. I'm not impressed by the couplet here, but there is a little notch. So we need to still take this storm seriously. And if you're in Louisa County, Iowa, tornado threat still present for you. It could spin up. There is the possibility of a tornado there approaching Grandview. Just play it safe, take shelter. But again, it's a radar indicated risk in that area. I'm pulling a map out. We're going to do a quick reset here for the AccuWeather Network as they rejoin us here in just about 40 seconds or so. And I'm going to bring up the watches, just kind of the 30,000 foot view of things right now. So thanks for being patient here as we're coming in and out of commercial breaks for the AccuWeather Network. All right, thanks for joining us here as I was checking out some of the comments here. People wondering about what's going on our live YouTube channel. And hey, we appreciate those of you who are dialed in right now. We've been streaming for about 105 minutes or so. And we have been tracking, we got 34 severe thunderstorm warnings, 34 severe thunderstorm warnings, 12 tornado warnings, and that's covering various parts of 10 plus states. This is some numbers from our weather editor, Jesse Farrell, the Weather Matrix, and we have been tracking several tornado threats. But just the big broad view here, we have 2 tornado watches, southern Wisconsin, 1 county in Minnesota, eastern and central Iowa, northern Illinois, tornado watch until 10 p.m. Another tornado watch, southeast Kansas from Wichita all the way to Chanute, Kansas, down into central Oklahoma, and northwest Texas near Wichita Falls to 11 p.m. Then fractions of parts of Ohio and Indiana, Pennsylvania and northern PA and New York, and then also West Texas under severe thunderstorm watches as well. Big picture view. This is the area we're most concerned about this evening and tonight. And again, we're connecting the dots. There's going to be some late night thunderstorm activity, Oklahoma City, and we're most concerned about southern Wisconsin and the Chicago area. And in Chicago, you're saying, where are the storms? It has been quiet and warm. All right, here's the area that we've been concerned about, and I'm going to take the red off the map here. This is our graphic, highest tornado risk. I'm going to delete temporarily that area, and there are the tornado warnings. So our forecast team at AccuWeather did a nice job with this. On the northern fringe, though, we even had some issues here. And in Chicago, just briefly, for those of you in Chicago, we're going to be dealing with the risk for storms later this evening. So here we go. Again, most of the actions to your north. Later tonight, the severe risk is going to move through or clip Chicago, and then you're going to have repetitive storms late at night. So have the NOAA weather radio on and make sure you have notifications enabled. Southern Michigan, flash flooding is a big threat for you overnight tonight as well. You're wondering about Kansas City, and then we'll go over to Tony here. And Barry, just I wanted to give people in other areas who have had that question, a lot of noise. Where are the storms? Here's Kansas City later tonight. We got some concerns there. Even Tulsa. Now, the confidence a little lower in high-end severe weather here, but it's present. And you can see, maybe it misses you up in Nowata or Craig County north of town, Bartlesville, Washington County, but maybe you get hit hard down near Jay or Grove or the south side of the area near the Grand Lake of the Cherokees, down into Fort Smith in the Interstate 40 corridor. So that's a concern. again, you're not out of the woods, but our greatest concern has been up into parts of Iowa. So again, I wanted to acknowledge the late night picture and then look at the areas like Davenport, Madison, Rockford, Chicago. Rockford and Chicago, it's been a quiet, pleasant evening. Baseball has not been canceled. If you have little leaguers out there, you're getting back home wondering where the storms, but you'll notice that these storms are going to be motoring east, filling in some of the gaps, not all the gaps, but near Chicago later tonight. There is the risk. Rockford is in there as well. And then tomorrow, more storms on the map. They refire into the southern plains and into parts of the Midwest. Hey, let's get back to radar. This is very important here. And again, we got the storms in various areas. Have the AccuWeather app on. Get those notifications. We want to zoom in. Milwaukee, we care about you there. We got 600,000 people that were under one of these warnings. As we zoom in on the high-res radar data here, then we'll head over to Tony. The velocity scan showing some rotation, not a lot, some, but earlier this was a vicious, likely tornado producer very close to Sussex. Now, I don't know of actual damage reports. I'm saying that based on what we saw on radar, but there was debris that was clearly lofted up into the atmosphere with the correlation coefficient product. All right, I don't want to lose Tony's time. We want to head over to Tony Lawback's view. If you're in Milwaukee, take shelter. You're still under that tornado warning. It's radar indicated. But Tony, what are you seeing out there?
That westernmost cell and these two tornadic cells that J-Jack was broadcasting the tornado on. I finally have gotten south. Just punched through some 1-inch hail. Nothing more bigger than pocket change for the most part. Lots of it, though. A little bit of hail's come down. But again, this would be about 6 miles north of Wyoming, Iowa.
Okay. So he is just near that Wyoming location here in Iowa. Tony, we just unfortunately just lost your signal, but we appreciate all you're doing. This, again, that's the area generally where Tony is located. And Storm Chaser Tony Lawback, he is chasing a couple of these cells. We do have a few of these areas of rotation. And just to give you an idea of what I'm looking at here. So the radar site is down this way. This is the Davenport Quad Cities radar site. And I'm going to take us a little farther north. We have a couple of areas of rotation. And this is the Doppler effect at play. Red is where you have movement away from the radar site. All these red areas, movement away from the radar site. Now, I do have technically storm relative motion, so it's subtracting out the storm motions, the storm movement, but giving us a view of the more specific storm relative movement. Again, the green is the inverse. That's where we have movement toward the radar site. And we got a lot of different tornado warnings here. I really think that part of this area here is probably outflow dominant, like a more of an area near Clintonville, Cottonville, and Lamont. That's probably almost like a micro or mesoscale cold front. But we have other areas here where we have likely tornadoes or possible tornadoes, including near Iron Hills and also near Onslow, areas of couplets. And even north of that area where I drew that outflow boundary, which is like a small scale cold front, we call it a gust front, there may be a tornado up to the north. And even within a gust front, sometimes you can get bookend vortices. So you get a stronger push of wind in one direction, and just by default, if the wind's not blowing as strongly on the north side, you may have a bookend vortex, a little couplet form. So you can get rotation to form in those areas. But here's the big thing. If you're in Jones County or Jackson County, Iowa, take shelter. And then also in Joe Davis County of Illinois. This is the first Illinois tornado warning of the day. Unfortunately, there will be more. If you're in Rockford, you've been wondering, where are the storms? What's the deal? They're coming. They're coming from eastern Iowa, and they're going to stay in far northern Illinois initially, but there will be other storms farther south later on as well. So have that NOAA radio on with the AccuWeather app. And we are still with you here live on YouTube. Clips Gaming for You is wondering, is Minnesota getting storms on Friday? Let's take a look at our graphic for Friday. There are going to be some severe storms on Friday in southern Minnesota. The Friday storm actually is born out of this whole thing. You know, it's snowing in the mountains of Washington and Oregon right now from this storm moving through the western part of the map here. Again, this vorticity maximum, this area of spin in the atmosphere, is going to produce a lot of lift on the east side. And it's going to be a pretty volatile day on Friday as well into parts of the plains. So we're highlighting a high risk of severe weather. We bumped it up a notch for Kansas City up to near Des Moines. In Minnesota, now if you're up north of Bemidji, the risk is very low for you. You may even see some snowflakes by the time we get into Saturday, perhaps. But down from southern Minnesota, Rochester, Minnesota is the biggest risk area, all the way down into Oklahoma on Friday and Friday night. So that's the answer to that. And then just a quick preview Saturday, Toledo and southward down through Dayton, Findlay, Ohio, officially, maybe not Toledo literally, but from Findlay, Ohio, down through Lima, down to Cincinnati, into areas like southeast Indiana. There's Switzerland County and the areas near New Albany, Indiana, north of Louisville. You got a risk of severe weather, moderate risk, 2 out of 4 on the AccuWeather 4-tiered severe threat index. If you're in the east wondering when's the cool down coming, that's the system that brings you the cool down at the end of the week. But hey, we got bigger fish to fry right now with the ongoing threat. And we are very concerned about what's going on with the storms in various areas across much of the Midwest. I want to briefly, before we come back on the network, and we're going to be right back here with everybody just momentarily. All right, thanks for joining us here on the AccuWeather Network as we are still up live nonstop on the YouTube channel. We have several tornado warnings right now, but we are tracking, again, one confirmed tornado warning. And as we take a look, again, I don't mean to be insincere and look off cam here, but I'm just trying to keep my eyes on some of the various things going on. We're dealing with tornado threats in various parts of southern Wisconsin, eastern Iowa, extreme northwest Illinois, and also approaching an area to the southwest of Davenport and southwest of Rock Island there in the Quad Cities. But the biggest threat here right now, we have one confirmed tornado warning. And I'm going to bring up the high-res radar data. I think debatably Milwaukee's the best bet right now. Just trying to measure with my eyes in Milwaukee, or, let's do La Crosse, Wisconsin. There's a tornado threat here into an area of Marquette County, Wisconsin, into Green Lake County. There may have been a recent tornado confirmed there. I don't see a screaming strong signal on the velocity data to confirm the same. I'm going to see what the Weather Service is. Okay, so I'm looking at reports here. And there was a funnel cloud seen with this, 2 funnel clouds. Oh, a tornado, actually tornado confirmed at 20 after the hour, and then again at 28 after the hour, estimated by radar. So this is a train spotter, both of them. So about 20-some minutes ago, a train spotter saw a tornado with that cell. Velocity couplet is less impressive at the moment, but still take it seriously. Take shelter if you're in Green Lake County. And then in northern parts of Milwaukee County, from downtown Milwaukee up to Menominee Falls and east, well, mainly if you're in the Milwaukee County area, east of Menominee Falls, take shelter. We have a storm that's had some rotation. It's soon to move offshore. Here. But we're going to say goodbye here on the AccuWeather Network and close it out on the AccuWeather Network. And again, Barry Wade, are we still up on YouTube? Are we clear? Okay, we're still up. And Barry, I defer to you guys in the control room on all the decisions. But overall, we're dealing with, again, a storm that's still moving through Milwaukee Metro. There's some rotation pulling through this area right now. Until this appendage gets offshore, I suspect the Weather Service may not cancel the warning. It is brushing Milwaukee. Do we have the Milwaukee cam? I wonder if we could bring up... I don't think we're going to see anything downtown, so don't go out of your way, Barry. But all right, we got the bronze fawns there. Henry Winkler statue in downtown Milwaukee. It doesn't show the sky much. Barry, I think it's low priority, honestly, because I don't think this is producing a tornado right now, but we need to still just take shelter in case it is. And if it is, okay, we're going to extend for 1 hour here on YouTube Live and on the network. All right. So we're in a commercial break on the AccuWeather Network, but we're going to stay for 1 more hour here on YouTube Live and on the AccuWeather Network, just because of the nature of these storms here. We have, 10 tornado warnings. This area of rotation is pretty ragged looking as it moves through Milwaukee, but there is a small risk still. The storm had a very different character when it was moving through an area southwest of Menominee Falls, and that's when we likely had a tornado touchdown. I'm going to pull the map out here, and you can see that we're dealing with still numerous tornado threats into areas near Maquoketa Maquoketa, and moving into northwestern parts of Illinois and Joe Davis County. As we take a look at I'm just checking out some of your comments. Was the Waverly, Iowa area hit? Waverly, I think, was in the area of one of these storms. Just to give you perspective, so there's Waverly. I don't see any aggressive reports there, and it's all blur, but I think that the real risk was mainly south of Waverly. Waverly had some hail, 1 inch, maybe a little larger than 1 in some spots. Cedar Falls had 2-inch diameter hail. That was a big deal. But overall, the Waverly area seems to be in a reasonably good spot there. All right, so somebody says I don't know. Somebody says their mom is recording a tornado. Now, again, this is YouTube, so I don't know. But if that is the case, we'd like to know where you are. And somebody's wondering what counties in Iowa are in danger. So there will be some storms later on tonight, but the real risk, the significant risk of severe weather is the good news for Iowa. It's for these extreme easternmost counties. If you're within 2 counties of the Mississippi River and south of Dubuque, you still have a severe threat. There's a limited risk northeast of Waterloo for maybe a hailer, and then there will be some storms later on tonight that come in from the west, but they're not going to be as intense. So the real risk is for the Mississippi River adjacent counties here in the Quad Cities, so from Dubuque down to the Quad Cities and down to Burlington. And the risk is greatest certainly in the easternmost portion of the state of Iowa here. That's where we're most concerned. Jackson County, probably front and center in that area here, as well as Jones County as well, but eastern Jones. And then to some extent here down to the Louisa area. And anybody into Davenport, I think you're just going to kind of run the gap as this storm may clip you, but to the north, it won't be as widespread north of Davenport. The AccuWeather Network is going to rejoin us here. And thanks for sticking with us here on AccuWeather's live extended coverage of some severe weather moving through parts of Wisconsin, northern Illinois, and far eastern Iowa. Subscribe here to the AccuWeather YouTube channel if you are... if you're not already dialed into us here. We have 1.98 million subscribers. You're going to find all kinds of useful information. We want you to be connected, but we do want you to also know when we're doing these live streams commercial free as well, because we have a lot to talk about. And your safety is our first priority. It absolutely is here. And again, if we can make your life more convenient in other ways here through weather intel, that's always a good thing, but safety is number one. And that's the case for our SkyGuard client. We work with half of the Fortune 500 companies, making those businesses more profitable, but especially protecting their assets. And that's what we really, really care about the most. And there are some great success stories over many years here since AccuWeather's been around since 1962. All right, we want to take a look at what's going on, big picture. We got storms moving through north central and west central Ohio. Those storms may have some tenacity with wind and hail, but they're a little bit more of a common occurrence. The storms up in the upper Midwest here, Wisconsin, northwest Illinois, eastern Iowa, those storms are more aggressive and those have more rotation. We're also dealing with some storms and some flash flooding into an area of Texas west of Wichita Falls. And Wichita Falls, you may get into it soon. But really, the main event's been into this flash flood-prone zone to the west, Ford County, Texas, King County, Texas, and beyond. A lot of this near Vernon. Vernon County, you're going to probably see a flash flood warning, but also a nasty gust of wind, almost like an archer's bow here, pushing into an area that's already seen some strong storms. So again, the risk of flash flooding and wind not over there in Vernon, Texas. Oklahoma City, this is really nice to see. We love seeing stratiform rain. Just kind of the blow-off lighter rain on the north side of some severe weather that's probably going to restabilize the atmosphere some, almost like a protective shield over Oklahoma City. I would say that the real-time, now-time severe risk in Oklahoma City is decreasing because of some of the rain, but south and north of that area, we got some big juice there and some nasty storms. Lawton, a different story. And again, it may still go severe in Norman and Moore and maybe into Oklahoma City, as these storms are going to be making a run near those areas. So it's kind of cheating the vectors a little north just to play it safe. They may still impact downtown Oklahoma City and Bricktown, but overall, again, the risk is greater farther north and further south and east. Severe weather rumbling through the northeast here. Look at this in the Worcester Hills, Worcester County. Severe thunderstorm warning. Westfield, Springfield, northwest parts of Connecticut, Litchfield, down into I-87, Kingston, New York, into the Catskills, the Poconos as well, into Carbondale, PA, and Lackawanna County, north of Scranton, still northeastern Wyoming County, Pike County into it as well, and also Wayne County. Severe thunderstorms rumbling, non-severe storms, a lot of lightning. Williamsport in Lycoming County, PA, rumble of thunder in southern Lancaster County, not a big deal there. But down into other areas farther south, Chambersburg, severe weather recently fading near Breezewood and other areas there. And there's the, I'm trying to bring the Breezewood exit up there, the label, down into other areas here in Pennsylvania. But hey, the main event is certainly occurring in areas near Waukesha. And again, somebody wondering what's the tornado risk for Brown Deer, Wisconsin. We can't do this for everybody, but I do want to just again give you the big picture map here. Brown Deer, Wisconsin. I don't want to set a precedent that we can do this all the time, but Brown Deer, again, Brown Deer is just northwest of Whitefish Bay, the northern suburb of Milwaukee. The tornado risk, frankly, is lower for you, much lower than it was a little bit ago. I'm going to bring up the high-res radar data out of Milwaukee, and the tornado warning for you has ended. The cell that really was nasty produced a likely tornado west-southwest of Menominee Falls, probably for just a few minutes. But the rotation tied to that continued to move east in a broader form, and that's why that Milwaukee tornado warning was issued for over 600,000 people. So again, the tornado risk is low for you in Brown Deer. Take shelter if you're in northern Milwaukee, not in a tornado shelter, but stay away from the windows. Get into the interior part of your home, because that wind and the hail can be big and can break windows and become a big problem if you get become unfortunately aligned with the worst of these storms. Hey, we're going to get back into Dane County, Wisconsin, because Madison, we got another severe cell, new cell knocking on your door. All right, Barry, I'm going to head there just after a quick look at the couplet here moving through Cross Plains south of the area. This is in Dane County, Wisconsin, west of Madison. Madison, you're under a flash flood warning at the moment. Tornado warning off to your west. And you might say, what do you do if you're under both? Take shelter, and you want to avoid flood-prone areas, but if your basement's not flooded, go to the basement if there's a tornado warning issued for you. And if you're concerned it will flood, be near the steps. That's the big idea. We never want somebody to go into a flash flood danger situation, but again, tornado warnings are short-term threats. If you're in the basement, don't go in there if there's water in the basement, but if you can hang out on the steps, stay out of the water. Again, that's the big deal. And again, 90% of the basements in this flash flood prone area are not flooding at the moment anyway. All right, we want to go back to Tony Lawback. Tony, are you in Iowa still? And what are you seeing?
Yes, I just cleared Wyoming, Iowa. As you were aware last time we spoke, I was dropping south through Onslow to get on the southern side of these storms. I did see some hail that I would estimate to be golf ball, maybe 2 inches north of Onslow as I was kind of getting on the edge of the hill. But there was some pretty substantial hail coming down. In fact, I was out trying to collect some when some of the bigger 2-inch plus stones started falling. And Jeff, I ran away. We did not want to play with that. I did not have my hard hat on. So I'm now eastbound heading toward Monmouth and Baldwin. This would be on Highway 64. We're just south of those storms. I think I've really kind of chased the tornadic potential away. As soon as I got down here, there was kind of some mergers and everything's gotten kind of messy. So I think right now the tornado threat, despite the ongoing warnings, unless there's something further east that I'm not on near Andrew, what I'm looking at down here is pretty messy, pretty high base, mainly just a hail threat. Again, there was probably some hail up to 2 inches. That's an estimate, but you can tell pretty easily when some of these hit the ground. They bounce and shatter, and they weren't quite baseball. They were certainly at least golf ball maybe a little bigger than golf ball, but certainly substantial enough to where that would have been some windshield issues had I stuck around. So that right now is basically what I've got going on. There's I'm going to pan over here because, you know, we talk about these kinds of scary looking clouds. You're looking at one of these scary looking clouds dipping out of this storm here. Not tornadic, but this would be looking off to the northeast, so north of Baldwin, basically. Some heavy scud, but at the moment right now, Jeff, I would say tornado threat on this particular cell, the western cell in the southern cluster. Probably not a concern to produce a tornado in the near term, but we'll keep an eye on it just in case.
Okay. All right. Good stuff there, Tony. We appreciate it. Hey, we got some pretty high-end reports here. 3.25-inch diameter hail reported near or in Madison, Wisconsin about an hour ago. Again, we're going to find out exactly where that was. Jesse, I don't know if that was in downtown. It looked like the greatest signature. I got too many mice to move here. I want to bring up the storm reports in a different way. I suspect the biggest hail looked like it was maybe just outside of town north, but again, maybe just within a mile or two of Wisconsin, of Milwaukee. But we also have had a screaming wind gust of 88 miles per hour in Dubuque. This is a storm that you don't want to mess with. And again, I know that just as human nature, we get drawn into the tornado conversation, myself included. But whether wind is moving in a curved circular fashion or straight ahead, if you get hit with 88 mile per hour winds, whether it's moving in a circular motion or straight, it's going to do some serious damage. And that's what Dubuque just faced at the airport, apparently. Nasty, nasty stuff. So again, a lot of big problems here. We don't want anybody to be fearful of the weather, but we just want you to know if you have a safety plan, if you know where to go, and when you have a warning, you could take shelter, and you're going to be in way better shape. Just carry the plan out, get in your shelter, and again, the overwhelming majority of people who are under a tornado warning are going to have the sun rise for them tomorrow and everything is going to be normal. But there are extreme cases, obviously, and it's the exception that we need to be really, really concerned about. So we're learning to take shelter better and better, and fewer people die from storms and from weather. Unanimously, fewer people die now than in the past, centuries ago. And the data is very bold about that because we take shelter. So we got to take shelter. Our homes are built better. Building codes are better. So many different reasons. We're here. We got, you can get AccuWeather alerts on your phone immediately. All these things lead to your safety. So again, when I say that most people who are under a tornado warning, the sun will rise for them tomorrow and everything's going to be fine, that's the case. That is true. But you got to take shelter, play it safe. Many of you are responsible for youngsters in your care, and you're tuned into us here, and we appreciate that you entrust us with your weather intel. But you got to take shelter. And the good thing about tornado warnings is they generally last for between 15 minutes and maybe 60 minutes, and that's about it. Then you're out of your shelter. Let's take a look at what's going on here. We have a confirmed tornado warning in the area near Macoqueta. There was a report from broadcast media reporting viewer video of a tornado near the town of Andrew. So here's Andrew. And this storm continues to move east and northeast. And as we take a look at the velocity data here, let's see how this is behaving. So there's likely the moment when this could have produced a tornado near Andrew, and this velocity couplet is still producing a likely tornado, and we may have another one crossing the river as well. So we just sent, all right, we are now here during a commercial break on YouTube Live, and the AccuWeather Network just went to a commercial break, I believe. Is that true, Barry? Yeah, I think we're good. All right, and we're just keeping an eye out for all these developing threats. So really we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tornado warned cells. There are more tornado warnings than that. Some of these cells have multiple warnings in the same case, for different parts of the storm, but there are about 5 cells that are very suspicious and producing rotation. Recently, a report of a tornado was filed here for an area near Andrew in eastern parts of Iowa. And again, I'm going to get the reports off there. I just wanted to see if that tornado report popped up on the map. But according to the Weather Service, there was a report from local media. Somebody sent in viewer footage of a tornado near the community of Andrew. So this is the highest confidence tornado threat that we're facing right now. The radar data that we're looking at is coming from south to north, so we have a couple of areas where there may be a tornado here. Here's strong outbound movement and inbound. So again, we got an area of rotation east-northeast of Andrew, and then arguably up to the north here as well. This looks a little bit more like an outflow dominant gust front here, where we're all gust fronts are outflow dominant. But again, I suspect that's outflow from a storm to the north. There may still be a tornado within that, maybe a bookend vortex. There are areas where you can find, obviously, outbound wind against inbound wind. So there are areas where there may be a tornado, but I think the most confident area here, the greatest likelihood, is going to be just northeast of Andrew. If I draw these too tight, sometimes the arrows argue with me. But the area that I'm most concerned about is south of Bellevue and east of Andrew, where there may have been a true tornado confirmed based on local media, viewer-submitted footage. And I want to go back to YouTube Live here. I am perpetually grabbing the wrong mouse. So somebody's wondering somebody's wondering about South Milwaukee. We're going to go to the south side of Milwaukee. And along with that, the Chicago Metro, Rockford, you've had a lot of questions, a lot of noise, a lot of conversation about severe weather. Nothing in those areas yet. The severe risk for you is going to come in late this evening. It may not be till midnight or 11 p.m. in Chicago, but the risk is coming later on. The greatest tornado threat is probably going to be to your north and west, just given the timing of all this, but we have to stay weather aware and make sure that you have NOAA weather radio on and AccuWeather app on your phone, so you will be awakened and you'll get good intel whenever a warning is issued for you overnight tonight in Chicago. So our friends in Oak Creek, I got a weather friend named Ron in Oak Creek. He's from the Netherlands. He's been a big weather lunatic for a long time here. I mean that in the best way. And we interact on Twitter almost daily. So again, south of Milwaukee here, we're doing okay right now, but there is a severe thunderstorm threat from Milwaukee west into Waukesha and into Pewaukee. And again, I realize I may be slightly mispronouncing some of these things, but there's the bottom left there of what's going on there with the southern fringe of this storm. At this point, it's a severe thunderstorm. We got some hail. I'm going to switch over to the high-res radar data. And Barry, we're coming back on the network here in just a few seconds. Alrighty. I'm gonna zoom the map out, and then priority number one is going to be zooming in on Milwaukee here, and we'll have a more conversation about that area here in just a few seconds. All right, thanks for being with us here on our extended live coverage on the AccuWeather Network as we continue to track an ongoing severe weather setup here. Texas to Wisconsin, parts of Ohio, parts of Pennsylvania, and New York State, Connecticut, Massachusetts. Now, it's not continuous in all these areas, but there are fragments in those areas where we're having some big problems with severe weather. And take a look at these temps in the Midwest here. Double-clicked. Let's go back. The atmosphere is primed for trouble late this evening. Chicago, you're still around 80 degrees. And it's around 7 o'clock Central Time, 7:15 Central Time, 83 in Peoria. The atmosphere is loaded for severe weather. So we still have, I want to make sure we got an army of forecasters here at AccuWeather. And I want to make sure I'm not missing any new updates. They have not made any changes to this graphic. So here we are with our severe weather risk for tonight, and we still are highlighting a high risk, 3 out of 4. It's 3 out of 4 in the AccuWeather severe threat meter here for Chicago. So let's get into Milwaukee and Chicago. I'm going to switch over to radar and give you an idea of what's going on. We got some action down near the Big Bend in Texas. Storms east of there. Storms up into areas around, what is that, Vernon, Texas. Gusty winds. Flash flood threat's going to be escalating there. Lawton, Oklahoma. Flash flooding could be an issue for you later tonight. More storms heading your way. But let's go north. And again, if you are in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, we have some flash flooding up in the north end of the county. Menominee Falls, we have flash flooding in progress as well. And the high-res radar data, we're going to bring out the storm hazards feature. And this is going to show us that there is some smaller hail, but not the big-time hail that we had earlier. There was a report of 3.25-inch diameter hail near Milwaukee, Wisconsin, near Madison, Wisconsin earlier. So this is like the ecto-cooler Ghostbusters version of radar that's showing us some different strange colors, but they're giving us the storm hazards. And In Milwaukee, this is going to be, again, a severe storm on the north side of town, but it's probably not going to be one that you remember a year from now, because it may bring maybe up to 1-inch diameter hail and some winds about 60 miles per hour, but it's kind of an entry-level severe thunderstorm warning. You will remember this storm for decades southwest of Menominee Falls in some small towns where we likely had a tornado earlier with an event that did not look good, with the correlation coefficient showing debris lofted into the atmosphere. Our hope is that it was over some forested areas and it was just tree debris. We're not sure if that was the case. All right, let's get down to Tony Law back here. Tony's dash cam. Tony, where are you and what are you seeing?
Well, Jeff, I'm actually to the, that's a good question, southwest of Andrew, approaching a town that I am going to butcher. I think it's Maquoketa.
I think it's Maquoketa, something like that. Yeah.
Maquoketa. Okay, well, thank you. Yes, but I'm kind of south of the area of interest. Nothing I'm seeing right now indicates tornado. I'm going to turn north here momentarily on what is going to be Highway 61, pointing myself toward Fulton. Again, these storms are kind of getting a little bit more disorganized. I'd be curious to see, because I think you mentioned that tornado report came from viewer video, so I would be anxious to see what the timing of that was. But there is some kind of a big broad wall cloud right off to my north. Again, unfortunately, I can only get the camera turned so many degrees here, but hopefully I'm about to make a north turn, so I'm going to stall you for a minute here, and then hopefully we can get that on view here, and I can show you exactly what it is I'm looking at. But again, we are south now on Iowa Highway 64, and again, we're making the approach here just as 64 kind of turns off to the north a little bit, getting into town there. We're going to make the approach on 61, but a little bit of a wall cloud feature here. This would be just to my north. Again, this is going to cross Highway 61. I would say the hail threat is probably a little less than what it was when I was coming down toward Wyoming, where I saw some hail golf ball size, maybe even a little bit bigger here. But we're starting to see, and Jeff will show this on radar, or semi-discrete, are starting to congeal into a line, and that is going to start to kind of quell down the tornado risk just a little bit here, transitioning to a damaging wind threat. So got my camera looking here again. Of course, as soon as I start to get a view and can get camera on it, of course, naturally I pull into civilization. But you can see it there behind the trees, just kind of the wall cloud feature that I'm tracking right now. Again, this does not strike me as imminently tornadic. It certainly continues to have that tornado warning. There are multiple warnings kind of in effect in this area here, so it's kind of a mess on radar determining what storms are being warned for what right now. But we're going to give it a look up on 61 here, Jeff, kind of see as this crosses north of the town you pronounced correctly, and I didn't, and we'll alert you if there's anything imminent that we need to be concerned about.
Jesse, I'm not confident in that, but I do have a chance to look at I have a hard time with another town that I'm not even going to try in Wisconsin right now. But yeah, I think it's Maquoketa. I have a hard time thinking it's not that, just after, you got a million things going on. All right, let's go to Ohio here. I've been interacting with a few of you here on the chat. Somebody was in their basement still in Milwaukee. I don't think it would be bad to come out of your basement right now, unless you have a lot of concerns about the structural integrity of your home. Most homes are going to be just fine here. We do have a severe thunderstorm warning in Milwaukee. So a severe thunderstorm warning, you're going to see gusts of wind maybe near 60 miles per hour and maybe 1-inch hail. Some of you have confirmed you experienced tremendous hail that you'll never, ever forget in Madison today. 3+ inch diameter hail. That's a big problem. That tornado warning that we were not impressed by west of Madison has been allowed to end, specifically in Dane County. There's another tornado warning, though, in Iowa County, Wisconsin, and northern Lafayette County, Wisconsin. We'll look at that in a little bit, but hey, I did promise that we'd look at Ohio here. Dayton, you are fine. Somebody wondered about Dayton, Ohio. Dayton, you're fine right now. And I don't think you're going to see much really disruptive weather later on tonight. I'll look at future radar in a moment. But the severe risk here in Ohio, near Bucyrus, moving into areas like Ashland, Marion, Ohio here, Upper Sandusky, other areas here near Hardin County. We're dealing with some strong storms, but this is, and there's the high point of Ohio, Bell Fountain there. A little over 1,400 feet, I think it is. That is, it's a severe storm, but this is more typical severe gusts of 60, maybe 65 miles per hour, and some hail. But this does not have the character, when we look at these reports, doesn't have the character of what we are seeing farther west. Here's some big hail, 1.5 inch in New Washington there, Crawford County, Ohio. That's ping pong ball size hail. It's big. And trees and wires down, utility poles down. Out near St. Mary's, we had poles down. You know, this is the kind of thing that we see in any one town, maybe 3 times a year, and on a regional level, 15 times a year in Ohio, 20 times a year. That's the nature of the Ohio storms. But this is like a once-a-year event here in southern Wisconsin. That's why we're spending more time there. And we're dealing with a lot of wind damage in Massachusetts. I just don't want to miss anything. Multiple trees, power lines down. Hey, I'm going to bring up the power outages here. Tree onto a house, Hollis, New Hampshire. Some of these areas in Massachusetts, you know, the trees don't get stressed by the wind as frequently as they do in Oklahoma. So, you know, it may take an 80-mile-per-hour wind to bring a tree down in Oklahoma, and it may take a 60-mile-per-hour wind to do the same thing in Massachusetts. All things to consider. I'm going to switch over to another product here. Again, just with the idea of what's happening tonight. Storms clip through Chicago later tonight. Dayton, Ohio, you're going to see some more storms tomorrow nearby, probably to the north. Scattered storms. Doesn't look that intimidating in Dayton. It really doesn't. I interact with somebody who has a significant weather phobia in Dayton every day on Twitter. And I sympathize. It's hard. I realize some of you have experienced some difficult things. It doesn't look like a scary situation in Dayton. Tomorrow looks like maybe a 1 in 30 days type of event per year. When the AccuWeather Network rejoins us here, actually the AccuWeather Network is coming back with us right now, right, Tony? All right, thanks, Barry. We are now being rejoined by the AccuWeather Network. I want to bring up power outages here. And again, this is kind of maybe the unpolished. We're a little bit less formal here because we're also doing a nonstop YouTube live. You know, when we're live only on the network, we set our graphics during commercial breaks and beforehand and all that. There's more preparation. This, when we're live nonstop, it's just all on the fly and kind of unpolished. I'm trying to bring up the Northeast power outages here, and the system is not playing nicely with me. Here we are, Northeast power outage. So I'm just curious. We got, I'm going to jump around here with different power outage numbers here. And you can see Massachusetts, we got 10,000. Not that impressive, which is good. There are a lot of reports of wind damage. Up in Wisconsin, 27,500 addresses without power. All right, we don't need to spend more time on that. But the big picture severe threat for tonight is going to continue to bring a high risk, that's 3 out of 4, on the AccuWeather Severe Threat Index of damaging winds, hail in southern Wisconsin, northern Illinois, some risk of tornadoes. Aaron Jajak has a nice shot up right now in the bottom central part of your screen. A lot of lightning. You can see the base of the cloud. Even the DOT cam there in Waukesha, Wisconsin. Forgive me if I'm mispronouncing it. Some of you did correct me earlier. Waukesha. Thank you. Waukesha. Barry, you're the man. Waukesha, Wisconsin. Decent lightning there from your tax-funded webcams there. But overall, the tornado threat is greatest in this area. And still, hats off to our forecast team here. I'm going to briefly turn this off, and I just want to show you where the warnings are. There they are, right? They're in that area. So a quick look at the tornado threat. And on the AccuWeather Network, we're going to take a deeper dive into all this here in just a little bit. But tornado threats continue in Jackson County, Iowa, Carroll County, Illinois, Joe Davis County, Illinois, and also Iowa County, Wisconsin. All right, Barry, that may have gotten cut off there. Sorry about that. It is okay to leave the basement in Milwaukee. Yeah, Morgan Bennett asking that. All right. Jessica, I did pronounce it through Barry Wade's help after mispronouncing it many times. Hey, any of you guys on YouTube, I am a disaster. I am an utter disaster with, I'm going to begin to sound it out. It's a Native American name, Oconomowoc. I know that's not it. A couple years ago, I had it for like 20 minutes, and that was it. Feel free to put it in the chat. I know it's not Oconomowoc. It's hard to type these things, too. Even if you capitalize the syllables with the greatest emphasis and all that stuff. All right. Well, your basement is flooding. That's not a good thing. We're going to have more basement flooding in some cases. I'm concerned about southern Michigan, where people are saying, if they're not tuned in, they're saying, what's the deal? Where are the storms? There's been a lot of chatter, and it's been a delightful evening. Late tonight if I had to name one place with a flash flood risk, I might say southern Michigan. Now, it's also present southern Wisconsin, even parts of southwest Oklahoma and northwest Texas there, near Vernon, Texas. You got some flash flood concerns as well. But nasty little storm here out in advance of the main event here into areas near Richland County, Ohio, and southern parts of Huron County, eastern Crawford. But that's more typical. The biggest concerns that we're going to jump into here in about 2 minutes are the storms in Wisconsin. But, we can do a little reconnaissance work together here before the AccuWeather Network rejoins us. I want to assess. Sometimes we can't show all the storms on radar, and we use our commercial breaks as best as we can to kind of assess the different relative risks of different storms. Man, I want to see the closest radar to this. It's either La Crosse, which is not looking good. I think it's going to be Milwaukee. This storm here near Mineral Point. It really does not look intimidating to me when I look at the reflectivity, but sometimes we switch over to the velocity scan. That doesn't look intimidating at all. So this is one of these warnings where, I'd put this at the bottom of the food chain. I probably won't show this on the network. There was clearly an area of rotation, clearly, right through Mineral Point. That area, if you follow it east, now it's way out here. So it's out of the warning area. I don't know why that warning is still in effect. And I don't mean that in a critical way here. I'm not criticizing the Weather Service, but I don't think there's a risk there from what I'm seeing. Sometimes the Weather Service will make decisions, and sometimes in local TV, people are critical of them. They're critical sometimes, and it could be not a good thing. These are great people with the Weather Service, but they may have information from a storm chaser on the ground that they're interacting with, and sometimes they have a rationale that may not be obvious. I'd be surprised if that tornado warning verified here at this point. It probably did earlier when it was first issued. But we got our hands full with many other storms, so I'm going to move on. But our team here at AccuWeather, we have our own SkyGuard alerts to go out. If you have AccuWeather Premium Plus, you get those other alerts in addition to the tax-funded government alerts. But also, we have we work with half of the Fortune 500 companies, and they really need hyper-local warnings. Really hyper-local warnings. If you're building cars in Georgetown, Kentucky, and you're on the edge of a tornado warning, and the real warning's up in Sadieville, 12 miles to your north, do you need to take shelter and shut the production line down? Probably not. It's like if your best friend's a meteorologist, you're hanging out with them, and you say, do we really need to take shelter for this warning? The answer by the book is yes, but if we can give you hyper-local warnings, we save a lot of businesses a lot of money that way. All right. So again, thanks for joining us here on the AccuWeather Network. We're tracking some ongoing tornado threats, and I want to focus in on two different storms right now, and they're both moving from extreme eastern Iowa into northwestern Illinois. And Barry Wade, if we want to go to any chasers, that's good too. These are the storms that most of our chasers are on, that I'm most dialed into. I'm going to switch over to the Davenport radar site. And we're looking at these from south to north. So again, this is a messy cluster of storms. Tony mentioned earlier, we're going from discrete standalone thunderstorms to just this big mess of storms that have been interacting with one another. And you really have to look to the south side. By the way, that tornado warning that we were just talking about during the break has been allowed to expire, and that's no longer an issue up there. So the Weather Service is on the same page in assessing that as extremely low risk, basically no risk anymore. But let's go farther south, and here we are into Jackson County, Iowa, southern Joe Davis County of Illinois, and Carroll County, Illinois. We show these maps, as meteorologists, we look at maps all the time. And it's one of the things that we do best because we just do it all the time. And we throw a lot of stuff at you sometimes when we're doing the weather. And we realize that sometimes we're just showing too much stuff and you don't even know where you are. This is the Mississippi River that I'm trying to highlight. We're in eastern Iowa. It never hurts to slow down. And then here we are to parts of western Illinois and off Wisconsin. How about that? After my conversation about that, I have confused myself. I'm going to zoom out. We're in eastern Iowa. It is western Illinois, but among all the chaos of the map here, here's the Wisconsin state line. So this is Wisconsin, here we have Illinois, and here we have eastern Iowa. All right, so, thank you, Barry. We'll go to J-Jack here in just a minute. There's a widely spaced Iowa abbreviation. So this is the Mississippi River. So the storm that we're concerned about, it's really one tornado-warned cell right now that we're down to. moving through and right across the Mississippi River from northeastern Iowa or eastern Iowa into extreme the northwesternmost county in Illinois. We're still west of Rockford. We're way west of Chicago. We're way west southwest of Milwaukee. And this storm is still rotating. And man, when I look at this, we have a lot of different couplets. And it's so helpful to go back in time and train your eye on the most significant couplet that can be kind of traced and established. So this was the area that now is over here, where there was obvious strong rotation. So the descendant of that area of rotation is now just about to cross the river, and the red is outbound movement and the green is inbound movement. There's another zone here where I would not be surprised if there was a tornado approaching Lorraine, and farther west, tiny couplet that's probably not producing farther west, and then we have this again, generally almost like a gust front that's coming in behind the backside of all this stuff, but there's also a gust front in front of this. So again, we have a lot of chaotic storm motions, a few areas within this broad tornado warning where there may be a warning, where there may be a tornado threat. And then also, if we press pause on things, we can see a couple of these little notches that are co-located with a few of these areas of rotation I was highlighting. So they're kind of spaced. Sometimes we see this in the atmosphere. They get spaced a certain distance away from each other, almost like the atmosphere has a rhythm to it. And there's this comfortable spacing where there can be these little vortices. The atmosphere is it's a complicated fluid. So these are the areas where there's no great confidence in a tornado. But I want to get to the ground here. Aaron Jack. Aaron, you've had some great shots here. Are you seeing anything compelling with this basically cluster of storms now?
Yeah, a few minutes ago it looked like a bit of a wall cloud in there under the storm, but right now things have definitely dialed down a bit, looking more of like a linear event now, wind-driven and hail event, but still tracking this storm. It is still tornado warned at the moment. As you mentioned, there are still some embedded couplets in there, multiple couplets on that velocity scan. One that's a little further up here to the northwest of where we're at. We're facing east right now, driving towards the Mississippi River. And then another couplet a little bit closer right here, and you can maybe make that faint wall cloud out right there underneath the base right now. So continuing to track these storms, lots of lightning coming out of the storm. And this is the DNA of the storm. They've kind of merged together now, multiple storms, but this is that one that we were tracking about an hour and a half ago, where it produced that tornado near Onslow, Iowa earlier. So continuing to track the storm off to the east here. We do still have that tornado watch in effect, but right now I would say the tornado threat for this storm looks pretty low, but I am also watching a little bit further back to my west. We'll turn here in a second. I'm going to turn to the north, and I can maybe give you guys a look to the west, where you can see this line of storms goes all the way back to the west for quite a ways, and there's actually some looks like some additional development maybe further back that way. So you can see this is looking back down the line, looking back to the west. So multiple storms, kind of updrafts along here, but definitely starting to look more like a wind-driven event and less of a tornado risk. Back to you, Geoff.
All right, thank you so much there, Mr. Jack. Good stuff. Photogenic shots there. You can see the dairy farms and so forth. All right, we are dealing with still some strong storms in many areas here. Just interacting with a few of you here on the YouTube chat. And by the way, I appreciated Oconomowoc. And once you figure out the emphasis on the right syllable, it gets a lot easier. Oconomowoc. Hopefully we won't have to have this conversation again in 8 months or a year. But, hey, one of you is wondering, what is the EF scale? Well, we don't know what the EF scale rating will be for any of these storms yet, because they have to get surveyed. But the EF scale is the enhanced Vegeta scale. I think you may have been wondering that in that context. What is the EF scale rating for any of these tornadoes? We don't know yet today. We do know that there were 2 EF2s yesterday. That's based on an assessment of the wind damage produced by a tornado, taking hardwood versus softwood trees into consideration, taking building construction. Was this a mobile home? Was this a well-built home? Did it have a foundation? Was it concrete block? Was it prefab metal? Or was it a wood frame construction built home? All those things are taken into account with a new, I'm seeing hearts. Maybe we nailed it. Oconomowoc. Oconomowoc. All right. Hopefully I didn't take my eye off the ball there. We are tracking still one tornado-warned storm here into Jackson County of Iowa, northwestern Carroll County, Illinois, and southern Joe Davis County of Illinois. And then, again, a lot of questions, a few of you asking, south side of Milwaukee, Janesville, Rockford, Chicago. What's the real risk here? There is still a tornado risk. The atmosphere here is untapped. And again, there will be severe storms in most of these areas. I'm most confident in this area: Rockford, Janesville, Kenosha, Waukegan. I'm moderately confident in this area. We're going to get some outflow. It's 80 degrees in Chicago. We're going to get some outflow that, even if you have severe storms that go through this area, you're going to get a little small scale gust front that's going to kind of push south. That's going to trigger some new storms somewhere out there. I don't know if it's going to be Aurora. I don't know if it's going to be, some of these areas. And then they're going to be moving east. And there's pretty high confidence that you're going to see thunderstorms. But if this moved through earlier, the chat has, all right, I'm going to finish the thought. If these storms had moved through earlier, the risk was going to be greater in Chicago. The risk is still present. There may be a tornado warning overnight tonight, but it's coming down a bit lower than if we had these storms roll through earlier. We didn't see the convection earlier in the day. So again, it kept the atmosphere very warm, but this storm complex is transitioning to more of a quasi-linear convective system, QLCS. Big fancy name for a line of storms. Lines of storms, they produce brief spin-ups. They tend to produce mainly straight line wind, though, in general. Could we see a couple of discrete, isolated cells pop down this way? It's possible. We're going to see the low-level jet, winds aloft, begin to ramp up and fuel some storms down this way, but I suspect the most likely scenario is going to be probably aligned with what I'm going to show you here right now. And this is future radar taking us through the short-range model forecast. This is our best bet. You're going to see some development. You're going to see some storms near Chicago. But you'll notice it's mainly a big congealed cluster of heavy rain and thunderstorms. And that's more of a flash flood and damaging wind risk and less of a tornado threat. There may be tornado warnings, maybe a couple of them, but they'll likely be short-lived, brief spin-ups as opposed to an EF2 or EF3. Most likely. Never say never with the atmosphere. We can get humbled time and time again. But that's the most likely scenario here as this plays out time and time again. All right. I've seen some chat here about the pronunciation. A lot of comments. All right. Okanawamic. All right. Thank you. That's Tony. Thank you there, Pat, for getting me back on track here. New video. This is from Tony. Manchester, Iowa. All right, Manchester, Iowa. So here we're going to get into this is new video from earlier. Is that correct? Okay, thank you. Talking to Director Pat, who also slid later to help us out here, often on the morning shift, typically on the morning shift. So new footage here of a possible tornado. If you want to run that full, maybe you already did and I just missed it. In place of the radar, feel free. I'm just curious to see it. Again, possible tornado here earlier in you said Manchester, Iowa? Manchester. Okay, so that would have been an hour or two ago. That was a while back. But that was the cell. That was the same cell that produced the confirmed tornado touchdown that law enforcement posted. So there it was. This is the Masonville storm that moved east an hour or two ago. And there you can see what appears to be a condensed funnel rotating above the ground. Possible tornado there. And if you're still with us on YouTube, there it is. And actually, as the view shifted down, you could see it appeared to have some correlation to some action on the ground. So again, I'm also seeing some reports from that specific area here. Thanks for bringing that up there, Knobs, or Pat. I'm not sure who's in the seat right now. But lots of trees and flagpoles folded in half. Okay, let's go to Aaron J. Jack, or Rigsby, whichever Aaron it may be. J. Jack, let's go to Aaron J. Jack here. We've got some photogenic stuff here from him. Aaron, what are you seeing right now? Lots of lightning out there.
Oh, yeah, lots of lightning here, Jeff. As you can see, I'm right along this line now, just getting lit up with lightning. The storm, if you look at it, to me, it looks cold right now, and in fact, it's cold air inflow. Actually, is that outflow? Yeah, we're getting cold outflow right here, right now. So the storm is gushing out cold outflow, which is going to greatly reduce the risk of tornadoes. But you can see the line all along here. Looking back, this is looking due north right now. and then back to the west. Here's where that line ends, but gushing outflow right now, so that is definitely going to reduce that risk for tornadoes. And you can see all the rain that's falling back behind there, behind the cloud base here, and tons of lightning. So with all that lightning, there's probably some small hail in there, lots of rain, heavy rains if you're underneath this thing right now. And I think it's probably planted over the interstate, right? Going into Dubuque right now. So if you're on the interstate, definitely going to want to pull over and not try to drive through this stuff, because this is a nasty storm right here in Iowa, about to cross the Mississippi River. I'm not even sure where I'm at now in Iowa, but I assume if I cross, I'll be in Illinois and not Wisconsin. So back to you, Geoff.
All right, good stuff. Aaron J. Jack, really nice shot there. The sun getting low in the sky, but man, what an amazing shot with all that lightning as he's on this ragged storm. Our Lone Ranger is the only tornado warned storm out there. I don't want to call it a Lone Ranger because it's actually a big cluster, this aggregate of many other storms that have formed. But hey, I want to show you the tornado reports from earlier so far today here. Good thought there from Jesse Farrell. And also I'm going to plug in my laptop here. Thanks for bearing with me here. Practical things. We've been nonstop here for about almost 3 hours here on the YouTube channel. So we appreciate those of you who are tuned in here. And tell your friends. This is a newer thing that we're doing. We've been around since 1962. Our network's 11 years old. We're on Roku. If you cut the cord, we're on Roku. You do have us as a cable network option, even if you don't have cable. But hey, let's look at the storm reports. I'm going to bring up reports, and I think I can isolate these down to only tornado reports. I'm going to turn the radar off here in a minute, turning off all these other reports here. You know what? I'm going to cancel that. I don't want to make a mess for the next time I open this up. I'm going to bring up tornado reports here. We're going to be able to do this here just very briefly. The worst part of this is probably over. Here we are. I'm going to turn. Here are reports for today. And we're going to just start peeling them away here. And we only want to see tornado reports. Hail once, the hail reports go bye-bye. There go the wind reports. There are your tornado reports today. What we have really seen a big trend of lately, the Weather Service, many cases, if they don't have high confidence that there was a tornado, they issue a wind damage report and then later will change that report to tornado after surveying it. So, again, we may see more tornado reports coming up in the days to come out of this event. But that's a quick and dirty look at our tornado reports right now. All right. So we are back on the AccuWeather network, and I'm going to show you some of the reports here. I'm going to do this again. I just kind of peeled some of the reports away, removing the flood reports, the flash flood reports, the hail reports, just to give you a sense of where we've seen tornado reports so far today. And what we might see tomorrow or in the next few days, retroactively, many wind damage reports get assessed. They may get issued as wind damage initially, and then the storm surveys occur, and they get updated or upgraded to tornado reports. So that may happen to add additional tornadoes to the reports. Some of these were 24 hours ago, and some of these were down in Kansas, by the way. So some of them from Kansas were from yesterday. 2 EF2s were confirmed. So that was a big issue there. 2 EF2s, 4 injured among the 2 EF2s in Kansas yesterday. So there's all your reports today. We got all kinds of problems. And here are the ongoing severe watches. But we have currently one severe, tornado warning. One tornado warning and many severe thunderstorm warnings. So I'm going to zoom in. New tornado warning briefly here into Stevenson County of Illinois. So again, in Illinois, I know you've been saying, where are the tornado reporting? Where are the tornadoes and the severe storms? We're getting into the early part of this event in northern Illinois. Mainly a wind and hail event, some flash flooding, some tornado threats here will be on the map into this area. So I'm going to check this storm out in a little bit here. But first, let's go to Aaron J. Jack again. Aaron, again, your shot right now looks pretty impressive. So what would you say? That looks like scud as opposed to a wall cloud. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. Just some scud here right now. We are in extreme eastern Iowa, real close to the Mississippi River. And this storm is just now severe warned, but you can see there's tons of lightning in there, so likely some hail in there, and definitely heavy rain. You can see this heavy rain back in here, all along here, back along this line. And in fact, there is a flash flood warning right now. Yeah, I believe it is a flash flood warning, or it should be a warning, but because of all the heavy rain dropping out of this storm right now. So heavy rain, likely some small hail in there maybe, but the tornado threat looks largely diminished right now. I'm getting hit with cold outflow out of the storm right now, but definitely maybe the scud's starting to should develop into more of a wall cloud feature now, but I'll keep tracking this base here off to the east until we get to the river, and then figure out how I can get across the river, hopefully, and keep up with it. But it looks like largely the tornado threat's going to be low here the rest of the evening. Wow, that was a big flash of light there. So yeah, lots of lightning here. So it's definitely dangerous if it's to be out there, even if there's no tornado threat. Lots of deadly, like you see that CG bull is, if you get hit by that, obviously that's very deadly. So dangerous situation out there with this storm, even though it's not tornado warned. If you find yourself in the path tonight, definitely heed those warnings. Back to you, Geoff.
All right. Very good advice there. Very good advice. Aaron J. Jack, great stuff. And sometimes you maybe wonder, why do I say scud instead of a wall cloud? You can have lots of low-hanging clouds that could be pretty ominous looking, but if the top of a low-hanging cloud's not attached to and anchored to the base of the parent thunderstorm, then it's likely scud. They can look pretty scary, but when it's anchored to the base of the storm itself, that's when you're talking about potential for a wall cloud or a shelf cloud and so forth. And this stuff can be tricky sometimes, and it's hard to see at night. And I've been doing this for 22 years since I graduated from studying meteorology at Penn State, and sometimes you have to scratch your head and think about it a little bit. But overall, here we have a rotation couplet that's a big concern. Now in northern Illinois, this is our main issue here, and this is a pretty well-defined couplet. We're hitting this a few thousand feet up into the sky. Red outbound, green inbound. We're looking at this from the perspective of the Davenport Quad Cities radar site. But this is a pretty good, good is not a good thing. This is a pretty obvious couplet, and that is a rotation area, an area where you have outbound wind against inbound wind. 38 miles per hour in one direction, but a screaming 59 mile per hour wind with respect to the storm motion coming in toward the radar site. So, you add them up, and we're at 97 mile per hour gate to gate contrast, the outbound versus the inbound, and there's not much of a separation between the two. Let's look at this from one other perspective. This is the first storm where I'm tempted to use Chicago, although still I think that the Quad Cities Davenport radar is still a lot closer, really. This is pretty far out there from Chicago still. Chicago, you got some time. But it's a pretty obvious couplet, though, still, even though we're hitting this maybe 8,000 or 9,000 feet up into the atmosphere. There it is, the green inbound coming in toward the Chicago radar site, the red outbound away from the radar site. So it's a tight couplet there. We can even get a third opinion, maybe. I'm not sure if any of these are going to be all that helpful. We got Des Moines way far away. Milwaukee, I think we hit this with what we need to. Maybe La Crosse. That's looking through a lot of storms, and it's not going to be that helpful for us. So that gave us a pretty good view. Regardless, I would take this storm seriously. Stevenson County, Illinois, take shelter. Cedarville, Illinois, Lena, Freeport, you have a significant risk here for a possible tornado. I'm not showing you the most obvious view of it. The better view is from Davenport, I think. You can even see this kind of a cinnamon bun-like structure here. It's kind of just the echo of the rotation here. I'm just highlighting a few features and then filling in some arrows there. But that jives pretty nicely here with the couplet, unfortunately. And there we are. There's the inbound versus the outbound. So, again, this kind of a storm could produce a tornado at any moment, and it is moving east here through Stevenson County, Illinois. I'm going to check the chat here. We are going to send the AccuWeather Network to a break here in just a short time. Yeah, we do appreciate your help with my pronunciations. Trying to find the right mouse. There's the cursor. All right. Is Kenosha safe? Is one of the questions I'm seeing. Is Kenosha, Wisconsin safe? I'm just checking my geography here. I'm going to get rid of some of the clutter on the map. And, most areas north of this squall line are safe. Trying to zoom in. Forgive me I'm pretty good with geography, but I'm not great with everything. I've never spent Oh, yeah, thank you, Knobs. Knobs is the Geography Bee champ. He actually was one of our directors was a Geography Bee champion in middle school. It's a big deal. That's never been said on television before, Knobs. We'll be right back here on the AccuWeather Network. That may have been only fit for YouTube, but we went rogue. Yeah, Kenosha, Wisconsin. Oh, this is pretty far north. Why am I not seeing this? This is ridiculous. This is not good TV right now. Near Dubuque. But here's the message. If you are in extreme southern Wisconsin, or in... Oh, my goodness. Yeah. Okay, that Illinois. Yeah, Kenosha, you still have a severe threat. Thank you. That was painful. Northern suburb of Chicago, south of Milwaukee. I know it's not necessarily a Chicago suburb, but yeah, I should have known that. You have a severe risk. It's going to escalate for you. It's going to escalate for you in the next 1 to 2 hours in Kenosha. You're going to see lightning for a long time. If you're a lightning fan in Chicago, this is going to be a good night for you because you'll be able to look north and see lightning for maybe hours. If you're in Benton Harbor, you're going to see it for a long time. Eventually, though, this is moving in. Now, when I say that, I want to caution any of you watching because we don't celebrate severe weather. There will be danger in Chicago regarding potential for wind, hail, small risk of a tornado still. But overall, the lightning is going to be very numerous and frequent there in Chicago. And some of you are dialed in because you love the weather. So there is that. All right. Even the chat had a chance to say it's on the border of Wisconsin and Illinois. So we've located Kenosha as the greatest achievement here. But severe weather is going to be continuing to move through that whole southeastern corner of Wisconsin, including in Kenosha. I'll never forget where it is again. And down through parts of northern Illinois. And again, there's going to be an area somewhere in Chicago, somewhere in northern Illinois, there may be a zone where you miss storms, but they're going to be scattered farther south. Not everybody's guaranteed a storm south of Chicago tonight. All right, we are back live on the AccuWeather Network. And again, the question was, we are wondering, people were wondering, what about that area? Kenosha, south of Chicago, west to Rockford. This is an area where we're most concerned. If there was one area where we're most concerned in the whole country right now for severe weather, that's it. We have concerns in Oklahoma. We got concerns in various parts of West Texas. Still some severe risks northwest of New York City, North Jersey, the eastern part of the Poconos. Some severe hazards there. Some risk overnight tonight in southern Michigan. But overall, the area where the atmosphere is still untapped and prime time for severe weather still, northern Illinois. With that said, the tornado risk now compared to 3 hours ago, it's lowering. Every hour, it's lowering even more. That's the good news. The bad news is we're going to have lightning danger, and that can keep people up at night. We're going to have damaging straight line wind potential. Maybe not high end, but medium to high end straight line wind potential, and also some large hail. We've had some big time hail out there. All right. Well, hey, I appreciate all of you who have been with us here on YouTube. I see somebody has their basement flooded. We're sorry to hear about that. That's not good. Cedar Rapids area, you're looking better and better. I was about to say goodbye to this severe weather risk, except for far eastern areas. Cedar Rapids, I think you're okay at this point. But again, like and subscribe to our AccuWeather YouTube page. We got 1.9 million subscribers, but we want you to be one of them so you know when we're doing these commercial-free lives. And for those of us who have been with us on the AccuWeather Network, we appreciate you, and we're going to see you in just a little bit here as well as we'll have more updates throughout the night, and radar and warnings will be displaying for you as well. So, hey, thanks for being with us. Stay safe. Keep that NOAA Weather Radio on and the AccuWeather app with alerts enabled so you know when warnings are issued tonight.